This story is not at all like the romantic novels with typical beautiful protagonists and their airy princesses. So Miss thought that she would seduce him, after which they would become lovers, and the author would change the ending of this novel. Lady Jimena must answer honestly now. The main character smiled. The young man understood everything correctly. Something flashed in the girl's purple eyes, and she took 2 steps towards her handsome interlocutor. For some reason, Lady Jimena's answer more than satisfied the young man. That's how it was. So today the young lady really was going to seduce him. The young man began to advance. The main character was immediately taken aback. Stop, that's not what she meant at all. Why is the guy advancing on her like a predator? The girl instinctively began to back away and hit her back against the wall. She had nowhere else to run. Here, the handsome young man came almost right up to Lady Jimena, depriving her of the opportunity to escape. What the hell is going on? The young heroine's cheeks immediately turned red. Why is there suddenly such a dangerous closeness between them? Why would the young man suddenly behave like that? His ruby eyes looked at her directly and defiantly. Too close, they can rewind a few seconds and replay the scene with a simpler scenario. The main character no longer knew where to put her eyes, so greedily studying the features of his face, could his lordship take a couple of steps away, please? What's the matter? Why is Lady Jimena so embarrassed? If they are going to play lovers, they should act accordingly. The handsome young man placed his hand on the lady's fragile waist and pulled her towards him. What the? The girl's eyes immediately widened. They still hadn't agreed on why her heart was beating so fast. After all, it was just a guy. Here, the girl was overtaken by a terrible guess, a disgusting figure in a black hood, stinking of horror and blood. It was because of the killer that the girl came to this world. It was because of him that she died. It's him, the main character found him, she couldn't have been mistaken, everything fits together. As soon as the brain analyzed the information and realized the danger, Jimena's body also got involved. With a raging force and fury raging in the heroine's hands, Jimena quickly dealt with her latest nightmare. The main character laid the scoundrel on the floor, lifted the hem of her dress and felt her dagger on the bandage. Damn bastard, it's him, he's that psychopath, isn't it? Jimena found him. This degenerate is the serial killer. Let him answer or choke in his own blood. The peaceful inhabitants of the night city were sleeping. The time of the predator had come. There was noise in the streets. This freak ran away to the roof. Attention all police posts, a dangerous criminal is being pursued in the city center. A young female detective runs out into the street in a rage. She requests reinforcements immediately. Writer Savannah was seriously injured. The detective applied a bandage to stop the bleeding and called an ambulance. Partner Mizek Verdan has sent reinforcements to Detective Sian, and she must proceed with caution until they arrive. Since last year, this damn degenerate has already killed 5 web novel authors. And all the murdered writers became famous in the genre of romance novels. Sheehan collected all possible data on the serial killer case. There is only one possible reason the serial killer didn't like endings. Yesterday, at 7 o'clock in the evening, the last chapter of the novel by the author Koven was released, entitled The Price of Obsession. Since there were no negative comments from readers, the detective let her guard down, which turned out to be a fatal mistake. However, the degenerate had been very careful all this time, so why did he now run to the roof where he would be trapped? Shen checked her weapon, took the gun off safety, and kicked down the door to the roof. No way, it's the police. However, there was no reaction. This psychopath is surrounded. Let him raise his hands and show his face. The detective is not joking. If the criminal does not raise his hands, she will be forced to use force against him for obstructing the police. Why doesn't this psychopath react at all? Why is he so imperturbably calm, as if he was just waiting for her on the roof? What is this psychopath trying to achieve? Is he really going to commit suicide and jump off the roof in front of her? Just not on her shift? This spawn must answer for what he did, and not cowardly run away from the consequences. The serial killer turned around abruptly and threw something towards the detective, which was just now. There was a loud sound of metal falling to the floor, and a bloody knife was found at Cian's feet. So this was the murder weapon. This is a very important piece of evidence in the murder case against this psychopath. What is on his mind? And why would this psychopath suddenly literally bring such evidence to the detective? What was he planning? If the killer became so indifferent to the progress of the investigation, then he definitely decided to commit suicide. Let him not even think about ruining the sidewalk and adding work to honest workers. They will talk and decide everything. Cian puts down the gun. By the way, this bastard missed the mark with the last web novel author. He's still alive. What's going on? The psychopath has made a mistake. He's having a bad day or mood. The detective is uneasy. Then loud cries of the police task force were heard. "No one move, it's the police." That degenerate over there, all operatives, seize him immediately. The serial killer literally covered the distance to the roof cliff in one step and jumped onto the ledge. The detective immediately rushed to intercept. No, not on her shift. The girl is so close to catching a serial killer, even if she doesn't dare run away from her so cowardly. Shin rushed towards the railing like a predator. She had to intercept him. The girl managed to grab the psychopath's trouser leg and grabbed it tightly with her hand. "He won't leave her," she promised. Here, Sian felt that there was no longer any support under her feet. She was inevitably flying down, damn it. The main character of the novel screamed in fear and woke up from her sleep. Horror was frozen in her eyes. She was breathing, which meant she was alive. Cold sweat was running down the girl's face. Her whole body was still shaking with fear, but finally my lady came to her senses. "What the hell?" A shrill scream rang out. "What the hell? Who is this guy? And where is the girl anyway? Doesn't the lady recognize the butler of this house?" Most likely, the young lady has lost her memory, which is what this guy in a tuxedo is talking about. Sian remembers everything perfectly. She finally caught that freak on the roof. The lady should calm down and think carefully. Where did the young lady get such words from? Well, my lady is the only daughter of Duke Sylvester. Wait a minute. This guy definitely got it all wrong. Sian is actually a cop. No, apparently my lady had a very plausible dream. She is the only heir to the house of Sylvester, the daughter of the Grand Duke Hanselo Sylvester, and my uncle is absolutely sure of this. He has no doubts. Duke Sylvester is one of the founders of the Kedem Empire on the Grandelpis continent and Lord of Karafadon. Lady Jimena Sylvester, as the butler just called the girl. Jimena Sylvester is the name of the villain from the web novel in the case that Sian was investigating. Wait a minute. So the detective died and was reborn in the body of the most disgusting villain. What did she do in her past? Something is wrong with her. Everything in the girl's eyes has darkened again. It seems she is losing consciousness. Maybe she will wake up and find herself in the real world again. What is happening? The girl is in a coma. This is just a realistic dream. Or maybe she died and this is heaven. Sometime later, Grantole, the capital of the empire, well, people actually live in this fictional place. The main character leaned out of the carriage with satisfaction, like a happy little dog. Wow. They saw it. It's crazy why Mrs. Jimena acts as if she is in these places for the first time. Apparently, Milady still hasn't regained her memories. The knight of Jimena named Royce and personal maid Marie. It seems that Sian remembered everything correctly. Yes. Jimena hit her head pretty hard on the stairs in the Imperial Palace. She can scream like that. The thing is, Sian only vaguely remembers the plot of this novel and knows little about her heroine. She really tries to get into character, but descriptions alone are not enough for this. The stone-faced knight rolled his eyes. Seriously, why would my lady chase so hard after someone who had refused her? And this guy apparently knows nothing at all about women, so what should she tell her now? Here, Jimena's personal maid finally woke up. Good morning to her. Saliva was flowing from her mouth. They had already arrived. Not yet, but it's high time for Marie to think about what she wants. Today, Milady will buy her everything. Everything, no need. The lady is too kind to her assistant. Come on. Jimena took a lot of money with her. They see this bag. It's really not worth it. Someone like Marie really doesn't need anything. Milady Jimena went out for the first time in a long time. She needs to buy everything she needs, dresses, shoes, and accessories in the latest fashion. Let Marie stop saying things like that and start appreciating herself. She doesn't even know how much she helps Jimena. If it weren't for her sweet assistant, her ladyship would still be confused. Therefore, such dedication must certainly be compensated. Marie just needs to be allowed to do so. After all, this is an act of gratitude, and not an empty emotional attack. These two know very well how thrifty Jimena is. This is Milady. The lady has again lost her memory. Now they just needed to nod. The girl tries to live frugally, but today she suggests making an exception. Then what about Royce? He also teaches Milady how to wield a sword with all his heart. They will also buy him a nice little dress. Why is he growling? It's a joke. Well, it seems that Sian died and was reborn in a completely different world in the body of this young aristocrat. And she likes it. Today, Jimena pays for everything. It's been a long time since she spent time like this, forgetting about endless chores and work. And to be honest, the girl really began to think that she had gone to heaven. The accompanying knight will catch a carriage for them. Let the girls wait for him here in a busy place. Royce seriously thinks the ladies could move that mountain of boxes. He's a good coach, not a magician. But why did the lady buy gifts only for her subordinates today? Jimena already has enough of everything. The heiress of the House of Sylvester is surrounded by the best people, and she wants to please them in return. Then a female scream was heard throughout the street, and both girls immediately interrupted their conversation and jumped up. An unfortunate woman was screaming in the alley. That freak stole her purse, someone help. This is a job for a real cop. Let Marie stay here and call for backup if needed. What? Where did the lady rush off to? And in such a dress, Jimena will quickly catch the thief and return. For her, this is an ordinary weekday, what? Stop, it's the police. What did they say? Why is this girl so fast? She's definitely a girl. The agile criminal knows his way around these streets well, and almost immediately disappeared from Jimena's sight. The main character stopped and breathed heavily, wondering where that bastard had gone. If it weren't for that heavy dress with a bunch of fluffy skirts, the girl definitely wouldn't have missed the thief. And because of this magnificent outfit, the heiress of the duchy missed him, and who did such a beautiful and lonely lady lose here? It's dangerous for a sweet lady to wander around such places alone at night. Why shouldn't the cutie go with the men? They will take care of her. So that's the thing, these idiots are working together with that pickpocket. The thief just lured Jimena here. If these blockheads just give the bag back, the girl will leave everything as is. She had a hard day, the lady has gone crazy or something. Yes, lately everyone has been telling her about it. Why are the guys frozen, waiting for the lady to ask them to dance, to grab the girl? Well, it's their own fault, although what kind of friendly ending did Jimena expect in such a dark alley? The first attacker received a kick to the jaw. Was this crazy ninja raised or something? The second bastard took 2 punches to the jaw. The body remembers all the skills of the former detective perfectly. The rest of the thugs stared at the noble lady in shock. What was this anyway? This mad woman left the guys no choice. The thug pulled out knives from behind his back. Well, the girl didn't expect such an outcome before. She had a gun at hand, and it was somehow calmer in the dark alley. Okay, she needs to remember all the self-defense skills she learned at the police academy. Then, out of nowhere, an unfamiliar figure in a scarlet cloak jumped out and attacked the scoundrel. The thug immediately flew to the ground after a strong blow, and who is this guy in a cloak? A night guard of this city or something? If these degenerates want to continue to drag out their miserable and cowardly existence, then let them get rid of their knives right now. In the rays of the silver moon stood a young man of unprecedented beauty, eyes the color of rubies, hair like twilight, skin as if cast from marble. Well, it's Red. The bandits' work is finished for today. The thugs immediately started to run away from the gateway. Who's Red? Cian only knows one such person, Santa. The young man clearly felt safe even in such a gloomy slum, and clearly had extensive experience in combat. Well, thank goodness, thanks to the mysterious stranger, Lady Jimena didn't get into trouble. To be honest, the girl didn't expect things to go this far. And what, judging by her outfit, was a noble lady from a noble house doing in such dangerous slums? The girl was chasing a nimble thief who stole a bag from an elderly lady. What was she doing? As a result, because of those frilly skirts and bows, the lady let that criminal escape, and then she had a nice fist bump with those gentlemen. Incredibly, the young man leads the pink horror, flying on the wings of the night to her companions, which is very opportune. Lady Jimena doesn't know this road at all, so next time she should leave a trail of breadcrumbs behind her. Then a familiar male voice was heard. He was shouting out the name of Jimena, so it was her, and here are her companions. What a relief that Jimena's people found her. She is grateful to the stranger for her help. He is a very responsible citizen. At such a time, finding a caring passerby is worth a lot. This lady seriously asks to kiss her hand in such a place. Judging by the stunned face, it is impolite for a woman to shake hands first. My lady is not familiar with the local customs. In any case, Lady Jimena is grateful to Sir Knight. It is time for her to go. I mean, Sir Knight, did this girl really not recognize her interlocutor? A question was frozen on the face of the handsome savior. She really didn't recognize him. The training ground of the Duchy of Sylvester, Jimena put all her fatigue and worries into her strikes. How she loves physical exercise. Her consciousness is immediately cleared of all unnecessary thoughts. Perception is purified. Focus becomes more selective. Well, the warlike lady has already lost her weapon. The outcome of this battle is already predetermined, isn't it? Why doesn't Milady Helena finally admit her defeat? A knight is nothing without his sword. A very sad belief. Chivalry comes from the heart first of all, and then it absorbs the body. Wait, what the hell? Jimena grabbed her knight with her bare hands. What kind of savagery is this, miss? Like an enraged red orangutan. Who did Royce call an orangutan? The girl made a sweep and threw the opponent over his leg. Royce wants to go to his mother. No one saw this. Otherwise, the knight will go straight from here to become a bard. Since when did pampered ladies, who were only interested in luxurious receptions, become interested in the fighting arena? At her age, she needs skills of a different nature that will help her please her rich husband in the future. But this lady is too promiscuous. These two are climbing to their deaths out of turn. I wish I could shoot them in the knees and say that it was so, although her heroine really deserved it. But nothing can be done, it's such a time. Girls really have no place in self-realization and in men's hobbies now. And who was Jimena Sylvester, relying on the power and wealth of her father, who founded the Empire of Kedem? Rumor has it that she was promiscuous, obsessive, and rotten, dreaming of getting the respected knight's Marquis Killian Thermos. An infamous villain who will go crazy in prison, and the ex-cop can't go to prison. She needs to change the ending. Something terrible happened. Let the lady go to the estate. She needs to wash and change clothes. Marie will help her. But what happened? The personal assistant began to stutter. Let Marie already say what the matter is. Marquis Thermos arrived in the Duchy of Sylvester. So what kind of guy is this? Why such a fuss? Wait, wasn't it him that her heroine was obsessed with? Wait a minute, Marquis Killian Thermos is also the main character of this novel. Well, in order to change the sad ending of your heroine, you need to competently build a relationship with the main character. And what should Jimena do now? Marie dragged Milady along with her. We need to hurry. Mrs. Jimena looks like she's been kicked around by highway robbers. And why did the Marquis even come here? He hates her. So we urgently need to remember what was said in the original story. The Crown Prince's birthday was celebrated in the Imperial Palace. All the representatives of the noble houses arrived for the ceremonial banquet, and then the villainess notices Killian Thermos on the stairs. And when the possessed Jimena chased after the one who was avoiding her, she lost her balance and fell down the stairs, after which the real Jimena forced Killian to take responsibility for the accident, which had no witnesses. Then in the comments, everyone was asking if it was possible to kill this heroine faster. And now this nasty heroine, Cian, well, since she got into trouble, then we need to take advantage of it and improve relations with this guy. Cian died at the age of 27, a forever lonely detective, and now she has to suffer here. It won't do for Lady Jimena to meet Marquis Thermos in the form that the lady said. That is, Miss Jimena will come out to that very Marquis as if she had lived a year in captivity of vagabonds, hey? If the girl wears her best dress again, she will make it clear that she wants to impress Killian. But she doesn't need it at all. On the contrary, the boy can now sleep peacefully. That obsessed maniac is no more. They hadn't seen each other for a long time. A young man was sitting in the chair, strikingly reminiscent of yesterday's knight in shining armor. The unexpected guest rose from his chair. It was the same young man with the angelic face, as if he was molded from perfection. Isn't it too much to create such a beautiful character? They met yesterday in that back alley of Grand Toll. Sir Knight had finished off that scoundrel so effectively, but Milady Jimena completely recognized Marquis Thermos. So that's why the Knight Warrior was so dazzlingly handsome, because he is the main character. And how could she recognize this guy if she had never seen him, but only read about him? Milady Sylvester is fine. She recently fell down the stairs, but yes, she is fine. She has a certificate. The doctors say the same thing. The girl simply developed night blindness in the twilight. Jimena sees very poorly, or not at all. It was so dark in that alley, and this disorder is activated precisely in dark places. Anyway, it doesn't matter anymore. Marcus Thermos came here because of that incident with the stairs. The main villainess proudly crossed her legs and announced that the Marquis had nothing to worry about no matter what. The young man doesn't understand anything. Everything is fine. Mr. Killian didn't push her on the stairs in the Imperial Palace. So the young man had absolutely nothing to apologize for, since Jimena was the only one who made a complete fool of herself. As Lord Killian himself can see, the girl has long since recovered. That's how it is. So that's how it is. Yesterday, the girl really seemed full of strength and determination to cleanse this city of garbage. What's with the expression on this guy's face? And what's that dark aura that's suddenly emanating from him? Is the main character really upset by Lady Jimena's good health? Well, probably even the most patient would be fed up with over 100 chapters of relentless stalking and obsession. The heiress of House Sylvester formally apologizes for her unacceptable behavior. Milady Jimena will not behave like this again, so we can safely leave all this in the past. The main character stared at the girl in shock. She hit her head hard on the stairs. She doesn't like Marquis Killian anymore, so the unfortunate young man can breathe a sigh of relief. Lady Jimena Sylvester will not interfere with Milord Killian and that blonde, he can be sure. What other blonde? The knight here may or may not act as a witness to this conversation. Let Mr. Sylvester be a man and accept the lady's apology. Jimena suggests that they not get involved with each other in the future. The villainess is grateful for the young man's visit. Let him be careful on the way back. Happiness and health to the main character. 1 minute, one apology will not correct all the consequences. That fictitious incident on the stairs put the esteemed Marquise in a rather difficult position. It is for this reason that Mr. Sylvester would like the culprit to make a public announcement. So that's why the main character came to see the one he despises and hates. What can you do? You have to sort out your heroine's problems. Let the young man not worry. Jimena will explain everything in detail. What Milady Sylvester said, and that's all, Killian can't believe. What does the accompanying knight think about this? Milady Jimena has changed, but it is unlikely that she has come to her senses. Most likely the girl simply lost her mind. Moreover, she is like a completely different person. The young man becomes very interested in observing what is happening here. The main character will definitely find out. Jimena Sylvester. Who are you? The main residence of the Duchy of Sylvester. What did she think of? A knight's uniform. That is, the only heir to the great family of the founder of the empire plans to attend the Empress's birthday in a man's suit. That's right. But what does the Duke care about all this? Besides, Milady Jimena literally pushed Marquise Thermos out of their estate when he visited them. What a stupid daughter. She had to force the most eligible bachelor in the empire to betroth herself to her while he was here. If Jimena marries Marquis Thermos, his most fearsome knights of the Red Moon will take over the governance of their house. Doesn't Jimena realize that they will gain enormous influence and power? This fool should have made him take responsibility for the incident on the stairs. Jimena slammed her fist on the table and bared her teeth. She really scared him. The old man completely lost his mind. This old tyrant forces his own and only daughter to blackmail an innocent man in order to marry him, Father of the Year. Doesn't the founder of the empire know that his criminal liability also concerns what? The old man is unaware that in his empire he can be arrested for slander and spreading false information. How terrible it would be if Grandpa got tired of the comfort of his leather chair and silk robe. Let him just let her know. The villainess quickly arranges for her negligent father to be given a prison jacket and a cold, damp cell. The girl put her hand on the shoulder of the founder of the empire, and a female squeal was heard. Well, since Daddy understood everything, then Jimena will go, but he must not forget that his daughter will not remain silent, even if they are relatives. The Duke was shaking, wondering what had happened to my lord. He was too scared to say. Yes, this Marquis Killian Thermos of Acticos is the commander of the Red Moon Knights. Penetrating, ruby eyes immediately enslaved all the ladies. It was impossible to be so beautiful. The guests heard that magical minerals had recently been discovered in the barren lands of Acticos. This is indeed true, and now His Majesty, who granted these lands to Marquis Killian, is very upset. The son wanted to pass the exam for the Order of the Red Moon, which means he must impress Marquis Thermos, but the commander selects knights solely based on their abilities. Even if the Duke's heiress is obsessed with the handsome Marquis, his attempt to avoid responsibility for what happened does not paint him in a good light. What else can you expect from a man of unknown origin? These vultures go too far. Let the knight leave them. Confronting such useless onlookers will only create more gossip. Here all the guests fell silent at once. The servants announced the arrival of the family of the great house of Sylvester, the heir to the family of the founder of the empire. Wait, how is that? The young man immediately began to leaf through the list in confusion, but the heiress was indicated here. The accompanying knight rolled his eyes wearily. The heiress of the house of Sylvester, Lady Jimena Sylvester. Seeing the heiress of a noble family wearing a man's suit, the crowd let out a gasp of amazement. And why were all these people looking at the girl so strangely? Royce covered his face with his hand. It was hopeless. He should have gone to be a lackey. At formal receptions, everyone should be chatting, having fun and dancing, but that's not the case with these guests. Here, the astonished crowd was cut by the main character. Milady Jimena was living well, quite well. Marquis Killian arrived early for the celebration. Despite the fact that the real villainess was tormenting the poor man with her sympathy, he still came up. And it's nice when someone you know speaks first in a place where you don't know anyone. What the hell? Why does the main character kiss the villainess's hand? She terrorized him for all 100 chapters. The girl was completely unaccustomed to such displays of tactility from people she barely knew. The main character immediately looked questioningly at the heiress of the Sylvester house. At this time, Jimena gave him a sweeping slap with her palm and a firm handshake. She was glad to see Marquis Killian again. What the hell? The handsome young man began to stare questioningly at their hands. What is she doing? Wow, the girl has never seen members of the imperial family in her life. How interesting. This means that these individuals are the highest-ranking people in this country, the imperial couple of this state. The heiress of the House of Sylvester greets the son of the Kedem Empire and Her Majesty the Empress. The Emperor heard that Lady Jimena had an accident during the Crown Prince's birthday. It is good to see her in good health. Milady Sylvester is pleased with his lordship's care. She is really all right. However, the ruler of the empire, like all the court guests, could not help but notice an interesting detail. What an intriguing outfit Milady Jimena is wearing. This is some kind of announcement, something the girl doesn't understand. It is possible that the house of one of the founders of the empire is in the process of forming the Order of the Blue Moon. This damn old man, the main character, humbled the emperor with a piercing look. He mocks Killian. His Majesty specifically mentions this girl to annoy Marquis Thermos. It is said that when the invincible Killian kills monsters, his body is enveloped in a red aura that even colors the moonlight. That's why the great warrior of the empire is called the Red Moon Swordsman, and when the Blue Moon Knight swings his sword, he either emits a blue aura or not. The main character continued to cast meaningful glances towards the ruler and his stalker. And what is his lordship trying to achieve now? A loud laugh broke out throughout the entire ballroom. What? It became so scary. What is she doing? All the guests looked at each other at once. And what was that? Jimena straightened her back proudly. It was not a blue aura, but a blue mold. What? So the son of the empire flatters Milady Sylvester. How to understand this? What kind of mold? Recently, Jimena realized the importance of health and began studying martial arts of swordsmanship. She began to gather knights for personal training. But thanks to the words of His Excellency, the girl finally decided on a name for her mini-order. So far, the only person in the personal order of the heiress of House Sylvester is this nice guy? Yeah, Royce confirms. If the safety of the imperial family and the peace of the empire need a protector, Jimena is ready to sacrifice her body. The emperor burst into peals of laughter, Lady Jimena praising her newfound skills very highly. That's funny. Well, in that case, his lordship will definitely invite the Blue Moon Order to a monster subjugation competition. The emperor continued to choke with laughter. The ruler was impatiently waiting for the warrior to hone her skills and conquer this world. By the way, Cian was the youngest detective in the department in the real world, so she's cool. The girl thanked the imperial couple for their attention and walked away. Let Marquis Killian not pay attention to the petty ridicule of insecure people. What Miss Jimena had just said, Killian didn't imagine it now. Her speech was so adequate and favorable. The main character looked questioningly at the main villain of the novel, asking who this woman was. These two are not getting along at all now, and why should they get along? Jimena was smothering the poor Marquis with her attention, and he despised her. But after the head injury, the girl changed so much, and what kind of blue mold is this? She just completely went crazy. Jimena eavesdropped with curiosity on the secular conversation of the heiresses of noble houses. It was a so-so situation. The girl here hid behind a screen to avoid the gaze of the aristocrats, and now she missed her chance to leave. By the way, the ladies have already heard the terrible news about what we are talking about a murder in broad daylight. They say that the criminal has not yet been caught. What a pity. The novels of the late author were really interesting. It's so sad to realize that they will never know how it all ends. What was just said is really true. The ladies screamed shrilly. You can't sneak up like that. Lady Jimena scared the ladies. The novelist really was killed. About 5 days ago, a murdered writer was found right in the center of their capital. The poor novelist was stabbed to death in broad daylight, a familiar pattern for a detective story. However, the killer was not seen by witnesses, as he attacked the victim in a back alley near a bookstore. The puzzle is starting to come together, and until now Cian had been putting off her troubled thoughts for later. On that fateful day, the detective fell from the roof with a serial killer, after which she found herself in a novel. And there is a huge probability that this movement was facilitated by the killer himself, the man who announced all the arriving guests. Let Sir pause for a second. It was he who announced all the guests who had arrived today, that's right. And among the invited guests was the inspector who is responsible for the safety of the capital, Inspector Serpentis here. The young man began to shake his head from side to side, but Mr. Serpentis was definitely here today. And here he is. That man with a military bearing is responsible for security in their city. The girl immediately ran to her colleague, so Inspector Serpentis, Milady Sylvester, it was nice to meet him. The girl's name is Miss Jimena Sylvester, the sole heir to the duchy of one of the founders of the empire. And this guy is very handsome. Perhaps he is hardly inferior to the main character of the novel. So this is what the notorious aristocrat looks like. There are many unpleasant rumors about this antagonist in the capital. Commander Aaron Serpentis is pleased to meet milady. Why are they all kissing hands? So the inspector is the commander. The girl quietly wiped her hand on her jacket. My lady may call Sir Aaron Inspector. He is responsible for both security and defense of the capital. So that's how it is. There is a single system here that simultaneously controls both the police and the military. And why did the young heiress of the House of Sylvester need Inspector Serpentis? This is not a conversation for the faint of heart. The colleagues should understand that they need to talk urgently. The girl asks to spare Inspector Serpentis a few minutes of his precious time. This is really important. Without Jimena's help, these poor guys won't be able to catch the serial killer. The heroine looked around and pointed her finger at a secluded balcony. That place looks suitable. The balcony is usually where couples in love spend their time alone, so could it be that the obsessed Jimena has turned her attention to the poor Commander Serpentis? The villainess grabbed the unfortunate and embarrassed inspector by the hand and dragged him along with her. A lady cannot behave like that. This is another of Miss Jimena's infatuations. Here the main character blocked the way of the notorious couple he would like to talk to Miss Sylvester. Aaron breathed a sigh of relief. Lady Jimena apologizes to Marquis Killian, but right now she has a very important conversation with the inspector. So they would talk later. Inspector Serpentis looked resignedly after his last hope for salvation. Why does this girl have such a steel grip? It's like a seasoned sailor is dragging Aaron out of the port. What is this girl up to? She is dragging others into her troubles again. The promiscuous Jimena has found herself a victim again. And how can you devalue yourself so much and beg for attention from poor gentlemen? In all likelihood, Marquis Killian can finally breathe a sigh of relief. He is no longer of interest to this mad woman. And that poor guy over there is very unlucky. No one wants to be the lover of this psychopath. Poor Mr. Aaron has no idea what lies ahead. Why did the notorious heiress drag a respected defender of law and order here? This place is clearly not for business conversations. The main character must talk to the lead inspector about a murder case. The young commander was immediately taken aback by the unexpectedness of what kind of murder they were talking about. She learned about a writer who was stabbed to death near a bookstore. The criminal had not yet been caught. So this is what the heiress of the House of Sylvester is talking about that terrible incident. That's right, the police haven't caught the killer yet. This author's books were very popular among noble ladies. So this crazy lady was also interested in finding out how that spicy novel would end. And was the murder of the novelist 5 days ago the first case of this nature? Here the handsome inspector was struck as if by lightning. How did the lady know this? And why all these leading questions? Well, yes, but then were there similar incidents anywhere else, besides the capital? As far as Inspector Aaron knew, there was nothing like this on the territory of their empire. What caused the victim's death? The police managed to find the murder weapon. Who does this bored girl think she is? She understands that the investigation has no right to divulge such things to please someone's whims. No, Jimena isn't asking because she's bored with social life she can help. We are talking about a serious matter, which means the inspector cannot do without the help of such an experienced detective. What? Well, in fact, Cian didn't solve a single case, but she was very close to this one. So why would a lady suddenly be interested in the murder of a writer? Or is this a new eccentric hobby of the famous aristocrat? She is tired of luxury. Apparently there is nothing important in this conversation, so Mr. Aaron leaves. The heiress had already wasted enough of Sir Serpentis's time and nerves. It's crazy. A man was deprived of his life, but for the girl it became an exciting pastime. Why is Cian sticking her nose into things she shouldn't again? The desire to achieve fame clouds her mind. She still hasn't solved a single case. But at the same time, they focused only on the case that was ordered to be hushed up from above. Let it stay on the sidelines. The girl will prove to everyone what she is capable of. There will be no obstacles for her in this world. She will become a cool detective. Hey, the arrogant inspector thinks he's the best detective. Jimena is the lead detective here. The heiress of the duchy grabbed the inspector's shirt collar. Don't underestimate her skills. What is she saying? A murder has occurred. How can one remain indifferent to this? Murder is some kind of joke for the inspector. The death of some author. How dare he? That naughty girl is causing trouble for the poor young people again. Who's there this time? Human life cannot be insignificant for the defender of the city. If a person does not have a status like Aaron, then there is no need to waste your time on him. All lives are equally valuable. How can you treat your work like that? The main villainess disgustedly threw Commander Serpentis onto the floor of the ballroom. He was disgusting to her. If this peacock in a cloak doesn't find the author's killer on his own, then Jimena will. The heiress of the House of Sylvester will catch this offspring against all odds, and the inspector should not even think of standing in her way. Royce stared at his mistress in bewilderment. It was high time to write a letter of resignation of his own accord. A noble lady of Sylvester's house cannot kick an inspector, especially in the imperial palace with a bunch of witnesses. And why is everyone looking like that? Jimena will show them that she is an excellent detective. Wait a minute. Here she is, the stupid one, because if a serial killer was translated as a character in a novel, then he could be here right now. And Jimena, as always, gave vent to useless resentment and revealed herself as who the murderer could be. The Count's daughter, the butler, they are always suspicious. More than a month has passed since the rebirth, so the killer already knows about the changes in Jimena. Why did the girl suddenly have such a headache? Her temples are simply burning, her speech has become confused. Among the crowd, the heiress saw the worried protagonist. After all, Jimena had not cleared his reputation. The girl promised to correct her heroine's mistakes and let this poor guy live a normal life. She needs to make a public statement of apology. Her head is spinning so much. It's all Jimena's fault and hers alone. That handsome guy with red eyes didn't do anything bad. The main character covered the distance between them in a few steps and managed to catch the falling villainess. Lady Sylvester needs to come to her senses. She is very nervous. Her body is under stress. The girl closed her eyes and with difficulty said that Milord Killian had done nothing wrong. During the celebration of the heir to the throne's birthday, Mr. Thermos did not push the girl down the stairs. After which, the heiress of the great family lost consciousness. The young people stared at the girl in amazement, and what a noise she made. The villain of the novel once again pursued the protagonist and begged him to stop. Killian had nothing to talk about with her. But Lady Jimena has already said that this is very important. It concerns the life of the Marquis of Thermos. This is an obvious lie and a trick to get the young man's attention. He doesn't want to listen to anything. Nothing of the sort, my lady says this because she is immensely worried about the Marquis. She loves Killian. The girl really loves Milord Thermos, which means Jimena loves him. It's disgusting. What? How is Jimena's love disgusting? How can Killian say such things? This pathetic performance is not worth a single second of the young man's time. He is sickened by this lying and disgusting girl. Where is the Marquis going? How dare the young man leave the lady alone? Jimena has not yet finished. The girl will not give up her attempts anyway. The Marquis belongs to her, only to her, he hears. Out of resentment and rage, the villainess got tangled in the hem of her dress, lost her balance, and fell down the stairs. That's how it all happened. But since the vile villainess couldn't make that guy fall in love with her, she blamed him for what happened in order to tie him to herself. But in fact, the girl did not get tangled in the hem of her dress. She only pretended to, and fell on purpose. Jimena was sure that Killian's indifference to her would immediately evaporate, and he would become hers. He would blame himself, but such rotten scum cannot please anyone. And the villainess, possessed by the main character, did not understand this until the end. The lady finally woke up. A worried Marie stood by the bed of the heiress of the Sylvester family with a tray. What a relief. Finally, the young lady opened her eyes and came to her senses. The maid was so worried about her. Milady should drink more water now, and also rest and conserve her strength. The assistant is so kind to her wayward mistress, which means the much-talked-about young lady finally got some sleep. And here is Royce. Why is the knight so dissatisfied? Yes, indeed. What happened? The girl's amnesia becomes suspiciously selective. Did she forget again? Jimena threw the police inspector across the ballroom, after which she herself lost consciousness. This is the kind of plot. Why is she so stupid? Jimena could have resolved the situation adequately and wisely. And the girl staged another clown show. The father will be furious when he finds out about what happened. The girl shouldn't worry about this. When the Duke found out about everything, he packed his bags and went to Anatole's villa. What? After all, now the family of the Sylvester house will be extremely awkward going out in public thanks to Jimena. It happens to everyone. This never happens to anyone. Why does the lady always try to attract attention to herself? Such stupid actions do not earn recognition and respect. Jimena tries to convince everyone of her importance and significance with dirty provocations. This is done differently. The situation was simple. It could have easily been resolved with the desired result, but Jimena ruined everything. Wait, the lady really did drag a man she barely knew onto the lover's balcony. Royce is talking about that. What's wrong with that? Milady herself squeals every time gentlemen kiss her hand, but at the same time she brazenly grabs the stranger with her own hands. And there is also a secluded balcony. In this place, lovers and secret lovers meet. Jimena catches it. The girl really never thought about the convenience of others. She just moved like a train, seeing only her own desires. The balcony is a place for secret dates, which he said she should at least try to study her new world, then she would not put others in a difficult position. Shun is so stubborn and ignorant. Why does she always screw everything up? And it's true. Then on the balcony, Inspector Aaron blushed and kept trying to clarify why they were talking there. What a shame. The girl wanted to become an exemplary heroine with an enviable reputation, but she made her situation worse. Even the protagonist witnessed this failure, although he was probably not surprised by such behavior. And what should she do now? And who cares? It's even better this way. All the guests are convinced that everything is over between Jimena and the Marquise. And in general, the girl is a detective, and not a noble princess with an angelic character and refined manners. Therefore, in the new world, the girl will do the same thing as always, catch and punish criminals. Let the knight get ready. This time they need to go somewhere. All problems always start with this phrase. And where are they going? To the bookstore area in Grand Hall. There are some things to check. Well, and again, this damn men's suit, it is very comfortable, but there is a general law of common sense. There are rules and regulations. A lady is not a military man before an award. What is the point of all this empty bravado? And why did they need a bookstore at all? There was a murder there recently. Hasn't the knight heard? Frankly speaking, Royce is hearing about this for the first time from my lady. Perhaps because the victim was not of aristocratic blood, the news did not spread to the public. But even the personal mustard lady knew nothing about this. Jimena herself found out about it by accident recently. So it turns out that the simple peasants also knew nothing about the murder of a commoner. The heroine herself learned this news from ladies from noble families in the imperial palace. This means that the murdered author was popular among a small number of young noblewomen. In a world where there is magic and monsters, human death is not considered something significant. But Detective Xian cannot and will not stand aside. Who, if not her? Whose body did the serial killer take over? Did he really move between worlds just to kill again? It was necessary to collect more information about how this psychopath lived. It seems they have arrived. And here's the very bookstore that Milady Jimena spoke of. And what will they do now? That's a good question. We need to go inside and question potential witnesses. The girl greeted the owner of the bookstore. They are interested in one book, and of course it is Sir Knight. Sir Knight, be possessed by me, will you not? The man took on his visitors. Royce immediately hissed that he had said what the old man meant. Who did he even take the knight for? The young man is the best knight of the Duchy of Sylvester. What kind of dirty proposals are made towards him? What is this young gentleman shouting so eloquently about my lady was looking for this book? The novel, which was written by the recently murdered author, the abbreviated title is SRBOM, which means Sir Knight, be possessed by me. Yes, Jimena needs this particular book, but it is no longer available in the bookstore. Today, many people came to the store looking for this particular book. It is worth looking in other bookstores in the city. Was this women's novel really that popular among the locals? Well, in fact, this book only gained such popularity after the death of its author. This means that the novelist's work was popular among young noblewomen. The writer managed to publish only one volume. So the novelist was a woman, and after her death, her husband immediately began writing the second part. A small number of copies of the book were printed yesterday morning. News of this quickly spread, and the novel sold out. And how did people find out about the book that was published in the morning hours? And in the evening, a certain maid came and bought all the copies, but most likely she was a representative of one of the noblewomen. And is there really no way to find a duplicate of the book? The girl is ready to double the price. What a ridiculous offer, but the noblewomen, obsessed with women's novels, offered the shop owner a sum 20 times greater. And the aristocrats also asked the seller not to take the copy until new books appeared. That's how it was. If the young miss is so impatient, then let her come in the morning. Perhaps there will be a chance to get more copies. That's not all. The girl learned that the unfortunate novelist was killed right here, not far from the bookstore. It is possible that the crime victim had visited the bookstore shortly before his death. The strange lady won't be able to buy anything in this shop. Let her look for another shop down the street. Why doesn't anyone want to help her with the investigation? That means the novelist really was here. So they came to the key character of this story, and the man here met an incredibly beautiful blonde with ice-colored eyes. The owner of the bookstore would definitely remember if he met such a person, but this lady was not here then. Why such a question at all? And even after questions about murder and so on. A very comprehensive answer 1 minute, the man seemed to remember. If his memory serves him right, it was about 2 weeks ago. A blonde woman in a hooded robe visited the shop. She bought the first volume of this novel. The shop owner couldn't make out the face of the mystery customer, but she certainly had beautiful golden locks. The girl was struck as if by lightning, which meant it was definitely her. So in this romantic novel, the main character's name was Inez Fidelis, right? In addition to the fact that the fantastically beautiful girl was the main character, she was also Jimena's main enemy. Inez is from the Nigel clan and was one of those who survived the battle with the Black Dragon 17 years ago. During the main battle, Inez's father fled with his daughter to the west, to the kingdom of Deuce. Shortly after this, Inez's father died. He wanted to be buried in his homeland, Acticus. Killian and Inez's paths crossed at this point, and she helped him when the boy was injured after a monster-slaying tournament. And now the chapter of the novel begins, in which two key characters will meet. This will happen in the fall. This will happen during the very competition to which Emperor Xenos invited the Order of Blue Mold. Even though the girl happened to become one of the key characters, she is still a villain. Most likely, the serial killer also took the place of a key figure in the plot. It is even possible that a psychopath is hiding in the body of the main character, a blonde angel who cannot be suspected of murder. And by what kind of ridiculous coincidence did the lady decide that she was now the best detective in the capital? Well, this is the business of every responsible citizen. This is the business of the police. The killer is on the loose. No amount of help would be too much. Milady has another new and unhealthy fetish or something. What did he say? There are specially trained people to catch a criminal, but they are all just stupid losers. This is a matter only for a real professional, and why on earth does Miss consider herself one? Well, she will become one. Inspector Aaron said that some writer had been killed, which is why she had punched him, but it was true. And anyway, Royce is a knight, it seems. What the hell? He doesn't care about civilians. The boy wants to disgrace the honor of the Order of the Blue Moon. Miss herself forced Royce to join her ranks. He was against it. That is, the noble knight intends to surrender. Then the girl will remain here completely alone. Here the villainess tripped over a stone and began to lose her balance, that's it. However, Milady Jimena did not fall at all, and why is she still not dying of shame in the mud? The heroine noticed a strong male hand on her waist. It was definitely not Royce. He was standing next to her now. But then he came to the villain's aid so timely that the girl's cheeks immediately turned treacherously red. And to whom does the heiress of the House of Sylvester owe the salvation of her dignity? Mrs. Jimena is in order. What? Milady Sylvester is fine. She's not hurt, she's too close, and he's so handsome up close. Wait, what is she even thinking about? These emerald eyes immediately look straight into the soul and feel at home. You need to urgently stop this flow of thoughts. Why has the girl been silent for 2 minutes? Look, Jimena immediately recoiled from the beautiful inspector. Everything is fine with her. Commander Aaron is glad to hear this, and this is after Lady Jimena threw him to the floor in the Imperial Palace. And this is not the same man whom Milady dragged with her to the balcony for a meeting to keep quiet. Royce couldn't keep silent. Sir Aaron could hardly hold back his laughter. What brought the heiress of the duchy here? The girl immediately blushed and hurt. She needed to buy paper. They were already leaving here. Why is Royce frozen? It's time for them to go, and isn't the lady going to talk to her chosen one? Does the knight want to fight or something? Jimena really never thinks about how she harms others in pursuit of her ideas, but the inspector can't help but think about the lives of ordinary people. So she doesn't care about this guy, which is a shame. He's so handsome, and besides, Aaron clearly thinks she's crazy. Oh well, you'd think the villain's reputation could be damaged. Jimena has long been the worst. So the lady knows that just recently a murder was committed literally not far from this store. Of course, the woman knows about such a tragic event, and the curious miss from the Capitol Police. That's right, Jimena is their best detective. Milady has completely lost her mind. She will be jailed for posing as a representative of the authorities and the law. And Royce will be tied up as an accomplice. The knight will talk to her about the law, and she is the law. What? The police have still not been able to find the killer. The woman was acquainted with the murdered novelist. This unfortunate woman very often came to Mrs. Bookstore for paper for her works. And the victim of the crime came here on the day of her murder. That's right, the writer came here once every 10 days. The novelist arrived early in the morning, but was 4 hours late that day, her third visit in the last 3 days. The girl quickly bought everything she needed and left. Who knew that this would be her last visit? The victim then only bought paper. Were there any signs that the novelist was in danger? The girl always came here alone. There was nothing unusual. The writer had always been a man of few words, but once her novel became a success, she began to buy only high-quality paper. There was nothing remarkable in the novelist's actions, and recently she had been buying goods at a lower price. Now this is interesting. From what moment did the girl start saving on purchases? Wait a minute, that voice behind the couple of pseudo-detectives stood a real local police inspector. Well, that's it. They'll be sent to prison. Only Mrs. Father will get her out of it. Royce wanted to resign of his own free will. And what's going on here? Who is this young man? Jimena and Royce immediately hunched their heads. They're finished. Commander Aaron is the chief of police of the capital, and these two are his proactive assistants. And since when have they hired such incredibly handsome young men as inspectors? The woman said this out loud. She knew about it. The writers started buying discounted goods about 2 weeks ago. Inspector Serpentis thanks a concerned resident for her assistance to the police, and Mr. Aaron strongly recommends that the proactive assistant take a walk with him. And why did this guy start pretending to be the main one in the investigation? Because that's how it is? Let milady calm down already. This means that Mr. Aaron has a lot of free time, and he decided to take on this matter personally. Can Royce go already? That crazy woman made him follow her against his will, he told her. Hey, so that's how it is. The knight abandoned the lady at the very peak moment. The miss underestimates herself. She just started to create problems. So Inspector Serpentis will accompany the lady in the jacket for a walk. But why does it sound so threatening? Well, yes, Jimena often goes too far, and generally does not get the desired results that she is chasing, without seeing the people around her. And now Commander Aaron will arrest her. She won't do it again. The young man wanted to apologize. What? To begin with, the police inspector misunderstood the girl's behavior, and the problem here is clearly not with him, honestly. Jimena is simply too lazy to study the local customs, and so she drags others into trouble with her ignorance. The young man also suggested that the interest in the murder of the writer was personal. That is, how is that? Jimena, like all the local noble ladies, was intrigued by the unfinished story of the piquant novel. And it seemed to the inspector that the lady was trying to use her position to extract information. In connection with this, Mr. Aaron's words and actions were harsh, for which the young man asks for forgiveness. Well, the girl was really interested in the content of this novel. However, the reasons for the girl's interest were not at all personal. Knowing the content, she would be able to identify the real killer. And this guy is so sweet and noble. Jimena even felt ashamed. She asks for forgiveness for her outrageous behavior. No, the inspector got it all wrong. It was because of Jimena, she was to blame, and she also behaved like a drunk sailor in a pub. Inspector Aaron would not really disregard a man's life because of his status. Miss can see that. The girl's cheeks immediately turned red. Oh no, she was silently staring at this handsome man again. She needs to get it together. She's a cop. What's she thinking about during an investigation? The main villain needs to apologize for something else to the young commander. To be honest, the girl really didn't suspect that her actions would look like this. Milady Jimena really didn't know that that damn balcony was a place where a man and a woman, well, where all sorts of couples do certain things, that's it. The heiress of the House of Sylvester immediately blushed, really. The young man laughed readily. It really seemed like the truth. She had nothing to worry about. In such a place, a man and a woman would certainly not discuss someone's murder. And this hero was always so enslavingly beautiful. Moreover, Aaron's fantastic, soft beauty is completely different from the dangerous Killian. If the main character is like a Black Panther, which is scary to approach but impossible to resist this dark, alluring magnificence. This same young man is like a mythical, bright creature woven from blinding perfection, and everyone around him is just people. You want to tame him so much. Aaron is clearly capable of comforting those around him, filling any broken soul. It's time to answer one important question. Jimena agrees. What? Nothing. The young inspector wonders why this case is so important to the young lady, why she needs to find the killer. And now, how can the heroine explain all this to Aaron, since she will obviously be shoved into a home for the mentally ill? The thing is, the girl was a cop who was thrown off the roof by a serial killer, who, by the way, is also here. So basically, Jimena has two motives, one professional and one personal. This degenerate must pay. Well, the girl has been thinking about her answer for too long, which will definitely arouse the inspector's suspicion. And the current murders are being committed by the very same psychopath from the girl's past life. It would be impossible to accept something like that, and Jimena would not be hindered by allies in this world, so the truth cannot be told. Last year, the heir to the duchy was on a trip to the kingdom of Deuce, where she heard this story. There was a rumor that there was a serial killer on the loose in the city who was killing writers because he was unhappy with the endings of their novels. And this offspring acts very prudently, so the lady thought that this was the same killer. Since the handwriting matches, the descriptions of the victims coincide, this conclusion was obvious. So that's how it is. I wonder if the young man believed the words of Milady Jimena. It's impossible to tell from his face. In that case, it's necessary to send for the city guard to gather all the additional information, yours, and this guy really is an excellent detective. If this is all true, then the murder case could be much bigger than expected, and all her lies will be revealed. The Kingdom of Deuce is quite far from the capital, so it will take some time to gather information. During this time, the heroine will be able to get at least some evidence, right? However, Inspector Aaron still does not understand why the young Duchess would personally interfere in the investigation. Especially if we are talking more about the Kingdom of Deuce and not the girl's hometown, damn you! And now as my lady tries to justify herself, she buries herself more and more with every word. The villainess began to look around and look for a hint of what she could answer that would look plausible. Here it is. In 4 days in Octakos, there will be a test to join the Order of the Red Moon. The commander of the Knightly Order is the greatest hero of the Empire, and the main character of the novel, every young man dreams of studying with him and joining the ranks of his troops. That's right, the girl plans to receive an official knighthood. As Mr. Serpentis himself knows, it is not only fighting skills that are important to a knight, the most important thing is the desire for justice. And also the protection of the weak. By the way, Jimena is still so fair, apparently, still very modest. It seems that the heiress of the duchy managed to get out of trouble today, but not for long. This means that the Order of Blue Mold will be officially formed, although the name is more suitable for a cheese factory. Well, Jimena herself blurted out this name then. It was the first thing that came to her mind. What a shame. And now the word mold will be associated with Jimena in this empire. Now her motives are clear. Is it true that, according to the initial information received, this case looked more like a simple robbery? That is why the inspector did not attach any particular importance to this matter, but after listening to Milady Sylvester, he understands that the matter is extremely serious. Mr. Serpentis is glad that they met here today and cleared up all misunderstandings. Well now, next to this young man, Jimena's heart seems to stop. Her eyes look only at him. His angelic face completely matches his pleasant and bright nature, but she threw him on the floor when they met. The main character cleared her throat. The lady was also glad that they managed to clear everything up, and as a sign of reconciliation. Instead of shaking her hand in return, the handsome young man kissed her, Aaron asking for forgiveness for not greeting the miss properly right away. The villainess's breath immediately caught. It was so strange and exciting. However, this time the girl does not want to pull her hand away at all, which Jimena thinks about again. By the way, Milady Sylvester knows where the crime scene is, of course. She has already found out everything. The young people were talking right next to this dark back alley next to the bookstore. And judging by these dark spots, the body of the murdered writer was found right here. Who discovered the body and what was done with it? The victim was found by a passing merchant, he informed the guards, and they removed the body. The guards said there were multiple stab wounds to the left side of the abdomen, and their captain asked the coroner to examine the victim. Before handing over her body to the family, were there any signs of resistance from the victim? There were no signs of a struggle, and there were no witnesses to the crime. The main character began to carefully examine the alley. She dipped her finger into a dark puddle. What she was doing, it seemed to be ink. The bookstore did say that the victim had bought ink and paper shortly before her murder. Judging by the amount of broken ink on the road, the killer must have been splashed with it. The murdered novelist apparently dropped her inkwell when she was stabbed. But why did the writer end up in this back alley? This road doesn't lead to her house. Perhaps someone was following the murdered woman, and the novelist was trying to hide in this dark alley. Wait a minute. Inspector Aaron just said that all the knife wounds were inflicted on the left side of the abdomen. Does this mean that the killer stabbed the writer from the front? If some scary stranger starts waving a knife in front of a girl, she will definitely scream. Even if it was already late in the evening, someone would definitely have heard a woman scream. But for some unknown reason, absolutely no one heard anything. Yes, it's all a bit strange, but where is the novelist's house? Meanwhile, in the residence of the Duchy of Sylvester, and Milady Jimena is currently in the estate or not. The personal assistant looked questioningly at the young man, asking what exactly was going on, who was looking for her mistress and why. The young man was charged with delivering this basket of flowers to Miss Sylvester, and who sent it. These flowers were sent by Marquis Killian Thermos of Acticos. Come on, really? There is also a personal letter from the young master enclosed inside the basket, so please let the maid be sure to pass this on to her lady. The fact is that Milady Jimena is not at home now, but Marquis Killian ordered the young man to get her answer. Mrs. Jimena has left for the capital. She is not here. Well, then let Miss Sylvester send her answer later. When Miss Jimena ran after the Marquis, she was disgusting to him, and what is this sudden change in his behavior? Every time Miss Sylvester encounters the Marquise, she starts to go crazy. It's bad. All this is somehow strange. The maid began to examine the treasured scarlet envelope from the main character. What is Marie standing there for? She needs help with cleaning the house. Stop slacking off already. Let her go. Get the maid. Just a moment. Marie will take the basket of flowers to Milady Jimena's chambers and help with the cleaning. Meanwhile, the main villain continued to investigate the murder of the writer. Who would have thought that she would pursue a serial killer across different worlds? Let the guests sit down quickly. The young people ask forgiveness for their sudden visit. Actually, the man had planned to visit the city guard. He was grateful that the police, Baron Orneo, visited him first. The husband of the murdered novelist. Is there any progress in finding his wife's killer? No, they just came from the crime scene, but there are no clues yet. However, the capital's police are making every effort to solve this case and catch the killer. It is clear that Baron Orneo asks for only one thing: let the police catch the criminal as soon as possible. The victim's husband isn't entirely sure that this will help their investigation. But last night, while cleaning his wife's study, the Baron found this between the pages of one of the books. Inspector Aaron's expression immediately changed. His keen gaze began to closely study the new detail in his case. Well, what's there? After reviewing the new evidence, the young man handed a piece of paper to Jimena. It was a warning. The writer must change the ending so that the knight chooses the princess's sister. Otherwise, she will become the 6th author to be killed by an anonymous sender. The same messages were left in the real world by the serial killer in her case, and he killed 5 web novel authors. Did the Baron's wife ever mention the threatening letters? Maybe she started behaving strangely. The murdered victim's husband only discovered the letter yesterday, so he only thought about it now. A few days before the murder, the wife mentioned that someone didn't like her novel. But that's a common thing. However, after this, the Baron's wife said that this man frightened her. He could harm her. She was scared. Now, there are a few questions with the maid. The girl immediately became confused. The maid had recently seen someone suspicious in or around the couple's mansion. In fact, there was one strange incident. It happened 10 days ago when the maid was returning from the city. Then the maid saw some unfamiliar girl in a hood who was hanging around the mansion. The villainess was struck as if by lightning. A girl in a black cloak also entered the bookstore. And why is Anne talking about this only now? Then the maid thought that the stranger was simply lost. That strange girl spurred her horse as soon as she saw the maid with bags at the house. The lady said nothing about it, and there was nothing else strange. Anne saw the face of that stranger. The girl's face was covered by a hood, making it impossible to see. But the stranger was definitely petite, and she also had long, light curls. And why did the Baron's wife suddenly leave for the city that day? Then she made a small mistake. Usually the wife was very careful, but on that occasion she managed to spill ink on the last part of her manuscript. Does this mean that the novelist was still writing her work up until the day the incident occurred? Today, Jimena heard the news that the latest volume of his wife's novel had appeared in a capital bookstore. A natural question arises: if the ending of the novel was hopelessly spoiled, then how did it manage to be published? The murdered writer's husband immediately turned pale. Well, that is. When the Baron was tidying up his wife's study, he found the completed manuscript, and that was it. Apparently, the wife still managed to rewrite her manuscript and added the ending she wanted for her work. This was his wife's last job, and the funeral expenses were so high that the Baron had no choice. He needed money. As the guests could notice, despite the fact that the Baron is a nobleman, he is not at all rich, and his only maid is Anne. The murdered woman's book sold out instantly, and with its help, the greedy bastard made a decent fortune. The girl resolutely rose from her seat, and where was the Baron himself on the day of the murder of his wife? As the Baron had said earlier, the murdered writer's husband was on his estate all day. The maid can confirm this, right? Anne nodded immediately. That was it. The master spent the whole day at home. Well, it's clear that before Lady Jimena leaves this house, she would like to inspect the victim's study. Unless, of course, the murdered woman's husband objects. Of course not. In fact, it is just a small attic that does not really look like a study. Inspector Serpentis had a natural question. What does the Baron do for a living? Mr. Orneo used to be involved in trade, but took a break due to health reasons. There are ink marks on his shoe. The villainess's face immediately darkened, and the chain of events began to emerge instantly. Let the young people come this way. The Baron doesn't mind. Let them have a good look around. What the heck? Why are there so few things in the study? Writers are usually covered in manuscripts. The Baron himself moved closer to the doors. He didn't really touch anything here. He just cleaned up the dirt. The young inspector's attention was immediately drawn to 2 volumes on the victim's desk. The handsome young man came closer and picked up one of them. It was the 2nd volume of the murdered writer's novel. That's right. What a pity that my late wife won't live to see her book bring joy to the residents of the capital. By the way, a threatening letter from that psychopath was included in the 1st volume of the victim's novel. If the young people wish, they can take the novel with them when the book is republished. The husband will always be able to get a few copies. And did the maid clean the victim's office on the day of her murder? That is, well, yes, the wife left the mansion in a hurry, so the Baron asked the maid to clean up here. The villainess turned to the Baron with a passionate grin. She was so grateful to him for his assistance. Thanks to the threatening letter, the police have a clearer picture of the criminal, and this is thanks to the Baron. Police will soon be able to share new details with the victim's husband. Yes, the Baron so hopes that after this his wife's soul will finally be able to find peace. This is quite unexpected. Who would have thought that the killer was a woman? The letters will become important evidence in this case. But that's not the case. The threatening letter has absolutely nothing to do with their case, unfortunately. The villainess began to study the 2nd volume of the murdered woman's novel, meaning Milady Jimena. Isn't it obvious because everything points to the most classic case from the criminology textbook? What? The unfortunate woman was killed by her worthless, greedy, useless husband. There are many inconsistencies in this degenerate story. His boots were stained with ink. However, they have no direct evidence, only circumstantial, while there is more compelling evidence against a serial killer. After all, the girl herself said about the serial killer from the Kingdom of Deuce that this is his exact signature. Jimena has already regretted many times that she had to lie to the inspector. The killer even sent her a similar threatening letter. The girl in the black cloak who was near the crime scene and the victim's house is worrying. But she has nothing to do with the Baron's wife. The anonymous letter demanded that the ending of the novel be changed, didn't it? It said that the author should make the knight choose the princess's sister. But the 2nd volume of this work with a key ending was released only yesterday morning, and the writer was driven in 6 days ago, when the ending had not even been written yet, let alone published. In that case, how could the killer know about the ending? If it didn't even exist, he had no reason to kill her yet. He didn't get his. And this really makes sense. It is worth taking a closer look at the victim's spouse. After all, it is quite obvious that the killer was well acquainted with the murdered novelist. There are many indications of this. After all, the writer very rarely left the house because of her work, which means she was lured from there to a deserted place. And one more piece of evidence after 6 days. There was still a huge ink stain on the floor of the office. Its contents fell on the person who knocked it over, and the novelist herself was careful, according to her husband. And even more so, a writer, she definitely handled the inkwell carefully and could hit it with a pen with her eyes already closed. That ink from the office was expensive, and the passage that was hopelessly stained with it was the most important. And why leave the ink to soak into the carpet if you don't have the money to replace it with a new one? And we must not forget about the Baron's boots, which were all soaked in the murdered woman's ink. Wait a minute. That is, my lady wants to say that the ink was not spilled on the manuscript by accident. This rotten brat ruined the ending of his wife's novel on purpose to force her to leave the house. But then the question arises, in that case, how did they manage to publish an unfinished book at all? After all, the 2nd volume of the novel was published 5 days after the death of its author. There simply wouldn't have been enough time to organize the funeral, sort out the things, and publish the book, especially if the manuscript had to be rewritten at the same time. Most likely this was planned in advance, and the Baron had long since begun secretly rewriting his wife's novel. Therefore, by the time the novel was sent to the printing house for printing, it was already ready. And of course, since this was the murdered novelist's final work, the real ending no longer mattered to readers. When the young people were at the first bookstore, they were told that the 2nd one was sold out. Well, there is nothing unusual here. Someone has cracked all the volumes of the latest work of a favorite author. Most likely, these were personal maids who purchased the novel for their noble ladies. Well, of course, and that very maid was Anne, whom they saw at the victim's estate. This technique creates artificial excitement around the 2nd volume, which stimulates real interest in the book. It was also worth noting how much the hands of the murdered novelist's husband were shaking. This was most noticeable when the real killer held a mug in his hand and handed them a threatening letter. Jimena assumes that this freak has been taking illegal drugs for a long time. We need to find out everything about the Baron's entourage. This period of time should coincide with the time when the victim reused old paper in his work. It was for this reason that the unfortunate woman had to switch to cheap writing materials. So Milady Sylvester very much hopes that today she has done Inspector Aaron good and not harm. If the murderer really turns out to be the murdered woman's husband, then it will be necessary to act extremely quickly. After all, the most important evidence could be destroyed right at this moment. And who is Lady Jimena Sylvester, really? If Mr. Aaron has no objections, Jimena would like to keep the threatening letter for herself. Of course, the young man is not at all against it, in which case Lady Sylvester will expect good news from the inspector. And now it's time for the girl to go. The sun has almost disappeared over the horizon. Let the wonderful commander take care of himself and have a pleasant journey back to the police station. Can I have Milady Jimena's hand? Apparently, when saying goodbye, ladies also need to extend their hand. The customs of this world are so confusing, although with this guy, she is already starting to feel comfortable accepting them. Isn't this scene going on too long? Jimena's cheeks immediately blushed. Inspector Serpentis probably still has a lot of work to do at the station. Jimena doesn't dare detain him. From now on, let Lady Jimena call the young man simply by his first name after the investigation. Aaron will certainly visit her. But would such treatment be considered acceptable? Exactly like that. Oh well. In this case, the handsome young man wishes his lady pleasant dreams, and the same to him. The villainess stared after the departing carriage, unable to take a step towards her home. This fantastic young man reminds her of a fairy tale unicorn with emerald eyes. The more the heroine looks at Aaron, the more thoughts he occupies in her head. Meanwhile, the training ground of the Knights of the Order of the Red Moon in Acticos. The knight puts too much strength into his right arm and forgets to transfer his weight from his left leg to his right. If you don't know how to distribute your strength correctly, your movements will slow down and the sword will not have enough power. Marquis Killian is finished for today. Let the knights continue training with different partners. The right hand of the Marquis handed a towel to his commander. The Lord should be easier with the knights, at least sometimes. With each such training, more and more knights begin to complain. This is good. It means the old man in the infirmary will have more work. Sweetie, what about the servant they sent to Carafadon yesterday? Is there any news? Not yet. It turned out that Milady Jimena had gone to the capital, so the servant simply left a bouquet with a letter for her personal maid. Apparently, Lady Sylvester recovered quickly since she already went to the capital. What if the fainting that day was just a trick to get the attention of Commander Thermos? Well, of course, the girl even pretended to be pale. In the knight's opinion, this was definitely not her next trick. The current Miss Jimena is completely different from the previous one. Even her look is completely different. Remembering Jimena before falling on the stairs, the image of the protagonist's mother immediately popped into my mind. The Marquise's head was pierced by a sharp and acute pain. What's the matter? The commander should call a doctor. Everything is fine. Killian didn't have time to take her hand again. The young man just needed to rest a little. The frightening darkness was cut by a woman's scream. The main character's mother ordered her son to immediately run away without her. The knight held little Killian tightly to himself. The frightened boy resisted and stretched out his hands to his mother. But what about her? They had to go together. The child never stopped trying to reach her hand for a second. The young master must leave right now. There is no more time. Killian only continued to call for his mother. The protagonist violently slammed his hand on the table, a memory that poisons his soul to this day. Now, in front of the mirror, Killian saw the strongest knight of the Empire, the great commander of the Order of the Red Moon. Why is he overcome by this feeling again? Apparently, it is because of the feeling of guilt that the young man was unable to help Miss Jimena. The helplessness and impotence he felt as a child, unable to save his mother, follows him closely. At the Imperial Palace, Jimena supported him, saying that he was above the ridicule of pathetic and insecure people. Should we attach any importance to her thoughtless remark and strange behavior? By the way, why is Marquis Thermos so determined to meet with Milady Sylvester again? The lady has always behaved provocatively and thoughtlessly, and who calls a noble order mold anyway? Sir Weil also noticed changes in the behavior of this girl, but she always brings only one trouble to the master. In addition, Madame openly enjoyed a date with another man. They even had a skirmish, which should have finally separated the Marquis from this woman. Sir Weil himself saw that Duke Sylvester was not present at the Empress's birthday. After all, Her Majesty's birthday is one of the main celebrations at the Imperial Court. Duke Sylvester is one of the founders of the Kedem Empire and is completely loyal to Emperor Xenos. Doesn't it seem strange then that the Duke missed such a celebration because of a stomach ache? The gentleman rejected Miss Sylvester's advances not only because of her importunity and licentiousness, but also because of her father's devotion to the Emperor. That's right, if Killian could get his hands on the wealth of the Sylvester Duchy, he wouldn't care about this girl's essence. The young man wouldn't care even if Jimena brought a dozen men into their bedroom. However, if the Marquise had accepted the madam's manic advances, then her father and the emperor would have immediately gotten him. But what if the head of the duchy himself is just a tool, and his only daughter is in charge of everything? Jimena was never very smart, but now she has become a different person, and this is something to be afraid of. Does this concern of the gentleman mean that they need to speed up the progress of their plan? That's right. That's why Marquis Thermos needs to see for himself. He needs to find out what this girl is like now. So the main character, Inez Fidelis, is the girl in the black robe who was seen in the bookstore. Then, on the territory of the Baron's estate, it is definitely the main character with her golden curls. Or, to be more precise, this is a serial killer from the real world who was transferred into Inez's body. Because in this novel, apart from Inez and the members of the imperial family, there are simply no blonde characters. If the main characters' appearances are the same as the secondary characters, this reduces their attractiveness and confuses readers. Moreover, since the unapproachable protagonist will be smitten at first sight, the beauty of this girl must be of extraordinary beauty. The main character wasn't supposed to meet the main character until the Autumn Monster Slaying Festival. A logical question arises: what the hell? Inez is already driving around the center of the capital. And the case of the murdered Baroness in the alley was not even part of the original plot of this novel. If the serial killer didn't possess anyone, then why did his location coincide with the murder scene? But even if Jimena finds Inez, how can she explain to her that this lady with the angelic face is the serial killer? Yes, we need to think about this carefully, but there is another important question. Does the serial killer know that he is not the only one who has been reborn on the pages of the novel? Does he know that the detective on his case is also right here, very close by? Most likely, the killer knows much more about this world than the girl herself. If a psychopath finds out that the detective is also one of the characters in this novel, he will not want to give himself away. The homicide profiler said this serial killer has trauma. Trauma is a mixture of control freak and megalomania, and in the murdered Baroness's novel, these themes were key. So the choice of the work was not made just like that. The villainess torments Killian and Inez and then meets her miserable end. This is how she ends up in the original story. At first, the maddened villainess slowly became just a shell of herself from hunger, then she tried to tear off her own skin, hating the fact that she was never able to get Killian. Well, this is gloomy. We can't allow something like this. So if Inez is a criminal, it's very fortunate that she is not a noblewoman. This means that the main character does not yet know about the rumors in noble society that Duke Sylvester's daughter has become a different person. It drives the detective crazy, lots of suspicions and no evidence. Now the girl is being overly cautious because her life is at stake, but there are too many unanswered questions. And in general, what is the ultimate goal of this sick degenerate? And what is this "where did the flowers come from"? On the table in the girl's private chambers stood beautiful white roses. The maid must have brought them while Jimena was in the capital. How beautiful! And what a pleasant and fragrant aroma. Then there was a knock at the door. Who was there? "This is Marie." The maid brought freshly brewed black tea for her mistress. "This is very welcome." Let the assistant sit down and drink tea with Jimena, but how can a simple servant drink tea with a noblewoman? Okay, enough already. There's no one here. No need for these formalities. The girl just noticed these flowers. Where did they come from? The maid immediately became serious. "These white roses were given by the young Marquis Thermos." "What? One of the gentleman's servants brought these flowers here and asked him to deliver them during my lady's absence." Why would the main character, who despises the novel's villain, suddenly send her flowers when he had just gotten rid of her? The young people recently settled everything between themselves and closed this story. Perhaps this is some kind of unspoken threat, because the girl's public explanation was unconvincing. Jimena doesn't like all this. And the servant of Marquis Killian didn't pass anything else along with the bouquet of roses. There may have been some verbal explanations. A voodoo doll studded with needles. The maid's hand immediately twitched. The maid immediately blushed and put on a calm look. Nothing like that had happened. Absolutely nothing. In this case, the girl has absolutely no idea what to expect from the main character. Perhaps this is a simple gesture of gratitude in honor of their long-awaited reconciliation. That could be it. Marie wants her mistress to never attend receptions again. What is this? And especially those receptions that Marquis Killian attends, and what that was all about. Marie understands that the only heir cannot allow herself to behave like this. Even Jimena understands this with her ignorance. Every time Milady sees Mr. Thermos at these social receptions, she feels sick. But it is her choice. The maid can no longer watch my lady's eternal suffering, but there is no need to cry because of this. What's wrong with the maid? Jimena never liked all these pompous holidays, so she'll survive. And she no longer needs to cross paths with Marquis Killian. So the heiress of a great family can afford to ignore the nobles she wanted to become a cop anyway. The villainess pulled out one white rose and handed it to her assistant. Let Marie no longer cry over such trifles, but only bloom like this beautiful rose. It looks very beautiful. It suits the maid very well. Let her smile at Jimena too. The maid immediately began to look at herself with embarrassment. It really did suit her. In fact, the assistant would like to confess something to her mistress. Very interesting, and what is it about? The personal maid handed over a red envelope that she had stolen from a bouquet of flowers. It was intended for Milady Jimena. And what is this? Who is this letter from? And why did the maid hide it from the girl's eyes? Marie asks for forgiveness for her actions. In the flower basket that Marcus Killian sent, there was this letter. The maid specially took it out. Jimena understands what Marie was guided by. Let her not worry about it. The main thing is that in the end, the letter reached its addressee. Well, what is written there? The Marquis wishes Jimena a speedy recovery, and he would also like to visit her. What? What the hell? This is all somehow strange. The main character has absolutely no reason to pay a personal visit to his stalker. The maid sighed sadly, which meant that Mr. Thermos wanted to see Milady Jimena. Marie thought that my lord would make fun of the lady and invite her to another ball, but why would he do that? Jimena was bad and was bothering him. In general, the maid has absolutely nothing to worry about. Jimena has completely lost interest in the Empire's main handsome man. What a relief! Marie had better tell Royce that his mistress is waiting for him at the training ground. So the question remains open as to why the main character seeks to meet the villain of the novel. In the original route, Jimena disgusts, loathes, and irritates Killian. Sure, this guy is fantastically handsome, but he's also goosebumps-inducing and quite scary. Unlike Aaron, who has inhuman beauty, but you are inevitably drawn to him, so stop what Jimena was talking about. Wait a minute, the serial killer kept demanding that novelists change the endings of their works. In the original, the protagonist puts the villainess in prison and marries the main character. But if suddenly a serial killer has taken over the body of the main character, then it is obvious that his goal is the ending. This means that this psychopath's next target could be Killian himself. As mentioned earlier, recruitment into the Knightly Order will take 3 days. Tomorrow, Marquis Thermos needs to receive a list of potential knights of the Order of the Red Moon. It is necessary to select from among the incoming knights who will fight in the final tournament. Weil will prepare everything. And one more thing, let Sir Weil pass on this letter, it will be done. And Mr. Killian is going to send a flower basket to Milady Sylvester again. What other options are there? My lord will send them to the heiress of the duchy until he gets an answer from her. Or maybe it's worth just not wasting time on flowers and showing up at the duchy, but Weil saw everything himself. Jimena is too wary of the Marquise whenever she sees Killian. She constantly jumps up and down like a frightened cat. Coming back uninvited would only make her fears worse. I needed to get her permission. There was too much at stake. And only this girl has the answers he needs. Weil understands the suspicions of my lord. With this lady, everything was always wrong. Perhaps the current behavior is part of a well-thought-out plan to attract the Marquise's attention. Killian knows this. He will be careful. And it was for this reason that the head of the Red Moon Order ordered his people to secretly monitor the actions of the Duke and his daughter. Meanwhile, at the training grounds in the Sylvester Duchy, Royce is punching like a girl. Milady is in a bad mood today. It's because that guy from the balcony who said his writing to her. The knight's sword, with one precise and sharp blow, deprived the enemy of her weapon. Hey, she was not ready. What's wrong with my lady today? Jimena doesn't seem to be here. She doesn't even watch the enemy's sword. The girl fell heavily to the ground, it was true. Too many thoughts were not allowing her to concentrate. Besides, to put it bluntly, the girl's life could be threatened at any moment by a serial killer from reality. And the former cop can't even defend himself. He has no idea what the maniac knows and what his plans are. The killer has much more advantages than Jimena. He is well versed in the plot. This means he can change the plot line of the original novel and quickly get closer to Killian if he wants. And even a great warrior like Killian Thermos will not be able to protect himself if he lets down his guard against someone he trusts. Wait a minute, but if the psychopath kills the main character, then the entire empire will be left without protection, and the entire continent will be overwhelmed by hordes of monsters. Then no one will care about the development of the storyline. All efforts will be in vain, because all living things will die. And the girl herself will meet her end, again having achieved nothing, again not having caught this damn serial killer. And why is Miss growling? That's right, because before he appeared on the pages of the novel, the serial killer jumped from the roof of a skyscraper without thinking. He doesn't care about the world as a whole and its inhabitants. The matter is crap, it's time to finish training for today, and it would be better for the lady to drink some chamomile tea. There's no time for training now, they're all finished, they'll all die, what's the lady talking about, did Royce hit her hard or something? Doesn't Royce get it, serial killer, authors, Killian, end of the world? Well, where to start explaining? We need more healthy and adequate context, by the way, regarding the young Marquise of Thermos. Royce is going to join the Order of the Red Moon, but why would he do that? The Order of the Red Moon will also die as a result of the monster invasion. Wait, what did I say? The knight has been dreaming of joining the ranks of the most elite knights of the Empire under the command of the greatest Marquis Killian since childhood. The young man could hardly wait until his 20th birthday to take part in the exams, and this year Royce got his chance. What about the Order of Mold? How much can we talk about Mold? The Red Moon is the dream of every knight. Royce decided to abandon it. What does it mean to abandon it? Their contract ends anyway. If he passes the test, he will be able to personally serve side by side with the greatest warrior of the Empire and learn from him how to wield a sword. So that's how the Knights of the Red Moon Order have the opportunity to see the main character every day. This is a great opportunity for Jimena. She needs to join the Order of the Red Moon, but this is Royce's lifelong dream. In Killian's castle, she will be able to keep an eye on Enz and her attempts to get closer to him. After all, only the girl knows who the main character of the novel really is. So the villainess with great difficulty persuaded Royce to take the exams for the Order of the Red Moon together. The knight fiercely resisted until the very end. What the hell? The stalker Marquise has now decided to move into his castle. Royce is jealous of his idol or something. What can you do? It's a matter of survival for Jimena too. We just need to make sure that nothing happens to Killian before the tournament, and that the girl comes back afterward. Here in the rays of the welcoming sun, he appeared, an inspector of extraordinary beauty. Aaron seemed to glow. The young people decided to take a walk in the summer garden, which means the milord managed to catch the killer. And as soon as the capital's police arrested the criminal, Mr. Serpentis decided to immediately inform Milady Sylvester about it. The murderer really was the murdered woman's husband. This bastard has been addicted to illegal substances and gambling for a long time. This non-entity had long since lost his fortune, but his wife's books began to sell well. Then their family's financial situation improved for a short time, and then this degenerate returned to his old ways. All the books that the killer bought from bookstores were found they were in his maid's room. As soon as this cowardly wretch was cornered, he immediately confessed to everything, and Anne was supposed to burn his bloody shirt on the day of his wife's murder. However, the maid turned out to be a match for her master, and Anne kept the evidence to blackmail the Baron and protect herself from him. The murder weapon was also found. The Baron buried the dagger in the ground just behind the family mansion. Jimena is glad that the culprit was punished, although she was worried that there would not be enough evidence for this. Milady Sylvester deserves credit for this. It was she who put the inspector on the right track. The young miss has brilliant attentiveness and information analysis skills. So with the help of Duchess Jimena, the capital's police managed to find the killer if only her former boss could hear Aaron now. Therefore, the young inspector of the capital would like to make his proposal to the girl. My lord will be glad if my lady will advise him in difficult investigations in the future. If Miss Sylvester has such a desire and time, of course, yes, this is a dream proposal. After all, Lady Jimena is a sensitive and vulnerable noble lady. If this bothers her, Aaron will understand everything. What a cutie. No problem at all. Let Sir Aaron just whistle. Jimena will immediately rush into the dark, bloody alley. It's quite unexpected to hear something like this from a young lady. Jimena is interested in investigating cases, so this wonderful hero can turn to her at any time. Aaron is very grateful. By the way, now my lady can address the inspector simply by his first name. As you wish, Aaron. As a girl, she likes to say his name, and now she can do it more often. The handsome inspector's cheeks immediately turned red. What a cutie. Jimena is so grateful to the author. Then, to be fair, even if Aaron addresses the girl by her first name, the young man cannot do that. Then maybe they will at least become good friends. After a quarrel, people usually become closer, and they even had a fight. They can be friends, they already have a whole history behind them. The envy of all authors, you couldn't say it more accurately. Well, now even the wind feels different. The young man feels it too. It's as if the world around them changes depending on the moods of these two. The air around became so fresh and pleasant, it was as if Jimena was enveloped in a warm embrace. What a beautiful comparison. It is Aaron who is so handsome here that he outshines everything around him, but she didn't say it out loud. Rumors had it that a curse had been placed on the Elian forest, turning it into a lair of monsters. The Granelpis continent was considered the most beautiful in the entire world. It was as if even the nature of this place whispered that the Elian forest was blessed by the gods themselves. The beauty and aroma of meadow flowers captivated the heart, and the centuries-old majestic trees grew straight into the soul. It would be great to see such a beautiful place on Earth together. With this guy, it's not scary even to look at the end of the world, so if Killian saves this world, then she will save the main character. So this is what it's like to be a superhero. It feels good, and Lady Jimena also has a very warm soul. By the way, Aaron is going to publish the details of the investigation in the local newspaper. Since the case was in the capital, the residents are worried about their safety. Sounds reasonable, but the handsome inspector isn't going to mention Jimena's involvement. Of course he is going to. He needs to tell about the merits of my lady, damn her, my dear. There is no need to mention Jimena. She just expressed her assumptions. The criminal was caught by the inspector. This article will be able to give a new identity to the serial killer detective, right along with its geolocation. The girl begs the young man not to do this. It will damage her already eccentric reputation. And if Duke Sylvester reads this newspaper, he will be banned from the family estate for the rest of his days. They both don't want Jimena to rot in the Sylvester castle, and Milady is so modest. How modest she is. They could stick a knife in her rib for this article. Such terrible rumors were circulating about such a bright lady. Okay. Although Inspector Serpentis is very sorry, he will fulfill Milady's request. That's great. The girl is very grateful to Aaron. Phew, she got away with it here. But who knows what the next little thing might be that could give her reincarnation away to the killer. There is so little time left before the tournament, we need to take good care of everything. If he and Miss Jimena are friends now, could Aaron visit her from time to time? Of course, she was already looking forward to their conversations. The handsome inspector immediately blushed. In that case, maybe tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. Or when it is most convenient for the young Duchess, it will be difficult for Jimena to meet in the near future. Aaron was so upset, she was so sorry, she would have loved to spend time with the beautiful unicorn. But she needs to save this world. Jimena will go to her father's mansion for a couple of days. Aaron won't know that she will be taking exams for the Order of the Red Moon. To survive, she needs to protect Killian. Her father is not feeling well, and Jimena is her only daughter. So that's how it is. In that case, my lady's road to the family mansion is safe. The young man has absolutely nothing to worry about. As soon as Jimena returns, they will immediately meet. The young Duchess will write to her handsome friend upon her return. Inspector Serpentis gently took the villainess by the hand and closed the distance between them that had been so bothersome, after which the fantastic young man slowly leaned over the girl's ear. What is he doing to her? Aaron whispered to Jimena that he would look forward to their next meeting. And at the end he said her name, so the girl's breathing quickened. It's generally legal to be so irresistible. After which Aaron walked towards his carriage. The girl could not take her eyes off him. The girl immediately grabbed her flushed face with her hands, quietly, otherwise she will give herself away. What was it? Jimena was literally enslaved by his closeness, his velvety voice, his penetrating gaze. It was unicorn magic. So today she and Royce will spend the night here, and tomorrow they will change clothes and sneak into the castle. My lady never thinks about her surroundings, pursuing her crazy goals. Why does Miss always drag the knight into some poorly thought-out plan? And if they get caught, Royce was always a good and sarcastic friend to her, and she is like this with him. And why does she need the title of knight anyway? It's not higher than the status of a duke's daughter. Even the Mrs. suitcase is pink. What kind of knighthood is that? Not only did Milady brazenly steal Royce's lifelong dream, but she also wants to blacklist him forever. This is all because the knight chose not her as his idol, but Milord Killian, yes? What is Royce talking about? Jimena said that she dreams of becoming a knight. This dream appeared at the moment when he voiced it, and this is not at all suspicious. If the Duchess is trained by the greatest warrior of the Empire, she will be able to create her own order on the lands of the Duchy. Caraphodon branch of the Order of Blue Mold. No one wants to be part of such a vile name. Stop lying already. Royce has excellent observation skills. You can't argue with that. Let the lady be honest with him, and also with herself. She still cannot forget the Marquis of Thermos. The knight was probably looking for a fight when it was Jimena who was chasing Killian, or rather the new Jimena. Everything looks exactly like that. Why then did Miss drag a man she didn't know onto the balcony for a date right under the nose of my lord? This was done so that the Marquis of Acticosa would stop ignoring her and become jealous. Well, Royce is jumping the queue for his death. Jimena is not like that. Yeah, let her call her biography that. The girl said that the Marquis had nothing to do with it, of course, but my Lord Killian did. Well, here's the classic life of a superhero who no one understands. He sacrifices himself to save such idiots. So, let's say the Miss changes her clothes and can confuse everyone, but why should the knight do this? At the Empress's birthday party, they loudly declared the Order of the Blue Mold. How to forget this shame? So everyone noticed Royce too. Let the knight imagine that his idol finds out that Royce is his stalker's bodyguard. That would immediately fail. Then this really makes sense. The lady even managed to ruin everything for Royce here, and still calls him a friend. Jimena is not a great friend. Stop grumbling and let Royce put on a wig and come up with a name. Why was it necessary to choose such flashy outfits? They would immediately attract everyone's attention. As far as Royce understands, they have a completely different mission for today, and Miss has chosen golden hair, which are found only among members of the imperial family and a very narrow circle of people. Well, how many times do I have to repeat that Marquis Thermos prefers blondes? Well, yes, it doesn't sound strange at all. They have to get into the top 10 at all costs, so they will use all possible methods. Royce is a real aristocrat with that hair color. He's been told before that he looks noble. And what will my friend say about Jimena? She looks like a guy. She looked like one before. He wants to fight. Miss looks like a spoiled son of a noble family who ate little as a child. It will do. The protagonist definitely won't recognize them. Jimena guarantees it, so let Royce relax already. They figured out the appearance. There was no need to draw a birthmark on Royce. He's already a handsome guy. They need to come up with names. What about the Rolex? Royce is a perfect fit for this name. With his golden hair, he looks like a luxurious jewel. And as for Miss, she came up with a name for herself. Jimena will be Gucci, a great name. Rolex and Gucci, well, they just changed their names, but they already sound like brands. Stop admiring yourself in the mirror. Now it's time to act. So far, everything is going according to plan, Acticos Castle. Preparations for today's night's entrance exam have been successfully completed. And what Sir Weil managed to find out about the Duchy of Sylvester, the commander was right. A lot had really changed in the castle. The head of the duchy has gone to his country estate in Anatolia, and it is said that his health has deteriorated sharply. And now Duke Sylvester is undergoing treatment, after which his daughter took over the management of the lands of Carafidon. Well, so far everything is as Marquis Thermos expected, but there is something strange. What we are talking about is that since the transfer of power to Jimena, taxes for residents have dropped sharply. The heiress began to actively help the poor, allocating considerable funds for their support. Milady Sylvester also often organizes land inspections, and residents have begun to respect and praise her. This all sounds very much like an official succession of the title. Weil thought about it too. Previously, this girl spent all her time traveling to events and flirting with all the famous men, but now she decided to become a worthy head of the family. However, the Marquis is well acquainted with the guts of the greedy and avaricious Duke Sylvester. Will he give up his power so easily? And Jimena didn't get in touch with her father at all. Maybe she visited him outside the city. Nothing like that. This is a very strange thing. Let the spies continue to watch this family. The commander of the Red Moon Order will personally inspect the training ground. There are so many participants this year. Then two young men with golden hair entered the room. Gucci should know there are always so many knights participating in the Marquis of Thermos tournament. Gucci is actually the name of Jimena, and Royce's name is Rolex. How many people are here today? And they all have one dream in common. Honestly, the plan now looks ill-considered. Come on, really, didn't Royce say that? There are currently about 500 people gathered in the training hall, which is... And all these guys Jimena will have to defeat. She was out of breath while she was pulling on the wig. Maybe there are only participants here, and the rest were brought in for effect and extras. Everyone's attention. The host of the Red Moon Order tournament announced that the selection would consist of 4 disciplines: archery, fencing, spearmanship, and hand-to-hand combat. Each participant can choose 3 disciplines, based on the results of which they will be awarded points. Those who pass the qualifying stage will be able to participate in the semifinals tomorrow. The winners of the semifinals will meet in the final on the 3rd day of the exam, and Jimena made it. That's why she never thinks things through carefully. That's why she can't finish things. She ruins everything in the middle. All those present must line up in their discipline. Well, let's go. The first stage is archery. At least it is not so dangerous for the participant. However, the former corporal was used to shooting from her pistol, not throwing arrows at criminals. And how can a girl cope with all this? She just needs to survive the qualifying round. Mr. Rolex wishes good luck to his friend Sir Gucci. Okay, after all, Jimena is already here. She should do everything necessary. And finally, the girl knows how to use cold weapons, which means she can handle a stick with a sharp tip. Jimena simply has no right to give up. No one in this world knows about the serial killer and the impending Armageddon. If the villain gives up now, then who will protect the main character and the civilians of this city? You need to take good aim, pull the bowstring and release the arrow as you exhale. All participants stand at the white line and aim. On command, they are required to shoot. 1, 2, 3, fire. All the participants of the first round released their arrows. Jimena did the same with a warlike look. The heroine's arrow hit the target. What a relief. She won't be eliminated from the tournament immediately. It was a bit difficult. It was much easier at the police academy training ground. There were cries of delight behind the girl. The golden-haired boy is holding up well. Good luck to him. Wow, all these guys are rooting for Jimena. That's so unexpected. She's so cool. And in general, the girl was a good athlete and detective in the homicide department, so a knight's tournament was nonsense for her. Go ahead, brats, quickly pick up your drool and make everything look beautiful. The participants' arrows flew into the targets after another command from the leader, but the opponent's hands trembled after Jimena's sharp screams. The main character's arrow once again hit the center of the treasured circle. Who is a good girl? Jimena is a good girl. I wish Royce could see it, because the girl refuses to repeat it. Why did the blonde guy start yelling and knocking down other participants during the stage? This round needs to be replayed. This is a violation. By joining the Order of the Red Moon, knights will have to fight the monsters that threaten the continent. This means that warriors must have unwavering concentration and courage so as not to get lost in any situation. On the battlefield, these guys will also offer the monsters a rematch, just like that. After an inspiring and pompous speech, the judge added the blonde to his special list. The first day of the Knights tournament came to an end. He and Royce survived. How much Jimena's whole body hurts. Let her friend massage her shoulders. Knights can handle this better in a fistfight. And this is only the first qualifying stage. It's not time to change your mind. It will only get more difficult from here. No matter how much Royce grumbles, he still remains the best friend in the world. Milady has already proven herself so well that she doesn't have to torture her body anymore. The friend simply does not understand the girl's great desire. It would be strange if Royce also courted Marquis Thermos. Enough already about this guy. The girl means to give herself for the good of the world. Wow. The Duchess fell asleep in literally a couple of seconds right in her training clothes. What a strange aristocrat this is, and why did the young man get such a mistress? The knight covered the girl with a blanket and blew out the candle. Let the miss get a good night's sleep. Tomorrow will be even harder. Today, excellent work was done by the non-commissioned officer, many worthy participants. Well, the commander of the Order of the Red Rose is already here. The Marquis promised to personally oversee the selection. What will the host of the Knights tournament say? What level are the candidates this season? All participants, as always, are distinguished by their strength and skills, but this time there are many outstanding ones. Some have even already gained some popularity among the residents of the fortress. That's how it is. It is very interesting what kind of fighters they are and how they manage to conquer other people, if not with their cute faces. The crowd of castle dwellers roared with delight and cheered for their favorites, forward Sir Knight. There is currently a hand-to-hand combat competition going on among the participants. There are too many people. You can't see anything from here. This fighter on the tatami, he is small in build, but has a handsome face, so a crowd is flocking to his fights. Killian knew it. Well, not everything is so hopeless. In fact, this little guy, although puny, is quite nimble and brave, with a stable psyche. The young man showed himself well in archery competitions, although his speech is very peculiar and not always appropriate. The villainess twisted her opponent's arm and threw him to the ground to the loud cries of the crowd. Serguchi is so cool. Let him show this move again. Hand-to-hand combat in this century is far behind modern times. Any girl with basic skills can handle it. The crowd of female spectators roared with wild delight. Let Serguchi marry the girl she was dreaming about. He will marry her friend. Maybe pour some cold water on those ladies. But what about the commander's face? Isn't something wrong? Rolex ran up to his friend. The beautiful blondes won again. They are just handsome. This kid knows some secret techniques. The knight was not taught such things. Now be quiet. Seriously, Sir Vale doesn't notice what the hell is going on. What the hell? These two are in Acticos Castle. What is my lord talking about? Let Wilde take a close look at the training arena. Why are these two in Killian's castle? These two screaming blondes are members of the Order of Blue Mold. What a ridiculous sight. Adequacy does not visit this lady at all, and if the ladies rush to marry, she will play her role to the end or something. All the viewers are so supportive of the beautiful blondes, but Jimena couldn't name their order that instead of mold. Oh. Royce immediately turned pale. Cold sweat began to run down his face. They were doomed. What's the matter? The friend's face is gone. Right behind them now stands the great and terrible warrior Acticos. They are finished. Why didn't any of the participants say that Marquis Thermus himself would come to watch the tournament? In a little while, the milord would make a hole in their foreheads with his gaze. Rolex should not panic and look away from the marquis. This will attract even more attention. On the contrary, in such cases you need to look straight and confidently. This will confuse the milord. Rolex got it. Let them act as if they were seeing a person with this terrifying and deadly aura for the first time. Royce is about to lose consciousness. Jimena kicked him. Good. Now he will open his eyes and look confident. The young man opened his eyes and began to look at the marquis without blinking. This was too much. There was no feeling that they looked like they were going to have a showdown with a rival gang. What the hell is this crazy woman doing in Killian's domain? Why did she put this stupid wig on herself and her knight? This lady ignored all the letters from the Marquise, told everyone that she was going to Anatole, and then sneaked into Killian's castle in men's clothing. The kid was really skinny, his hair was stupid, as if his younger brother had cut it, but his face was attractive, while really didn't recognize his master's stalker only because of the wig. It seems that the Marquis should add some discipline to his attentiveness for his own safety. That guy over there is not bad. The officer doesn't know where the kid learned such techniques from, but it was only thanks to them that he defeated his opponents. And he also has a brother named Rolex, that big guy, but very fast. Well, that's it, the Marquise is leaving. Doesn't my lord want to talk to the audience favorites? There is no point in this now. The conversation will have to wait until the end of the night's tournament. Until the main character understands what goal this abnormal woman is pursuing, she will not leave his castle. The next day of the qualifying tournament for the Knightly Order of the Red Moon arrived, and all the participants were already crowded on the main square. Today, the final match between the winners of the previous qualifying stages will take place. All named finalists must step forward to pair off for the sword duel. The girl was doubled over with a nagging pain in her wrist. What bad luck. She should have been distracted yesterday and got injured right before the final. The heroine's hand is not very bad. Her wrist is still aching. Apparently, she has become completely pampered in this world. Jimena was distracted by her fans for just a second, and then she was hit with a wooden sword. Good thing it wasn't real. The participant's wrist is very swollen and throbbing. The slightest movement causes an attack of pain, although bearable, but it will distract her. Brother Gucci is fine. He's constantly holding his wrist. Royce should be worried. Her friend has an important day today. He should think only about his victory. Jimena does not want to disturb him with her whining. And anyway, they both made it to the final test. Who would have thought? They are so cool. Just a little more, and Buddy Gucci will eclipse the greatest warrior of the Empire with his technology. Oh, come on, Rolex. The girl's main goal is Inez. She needs to find out whether the serial killer really moved into her body or not. And of course, if this novel-obsessed psychopath wants to kill the main character, Jimena must stop him and save Killian. And for this, the heroine needs to be next to the handsome Marquis all the time and watch his every move. She loves her job. From the stands came enthusiastic cries of joy forward, golden-haired brothers, good luck to them. And Rolex and Gucci are very popular among the locals, of course. They are the finalists, and also the most beautiful of all. Now is essentially a triumphant moment in the life of the former detective, but it must be understood that after the tournament, all this hype around will die down. Okay, you need to focus on the enemy and go all the way to your goal. Jimena can handle it. Whoever her opponent is, the final battle is not a duel between the participants. Wait. What? Instead, everyone present will have to fight the Knights of the Red Moon. The judge will evaluate fencing skills only. The rules are the same as in the semi-finals. The fight will end if a participant leaves the arena, loses a weapon, or forces the opponent to surrender. Losing won't mean elimination. The finalists will be judged on the totality of all their results, and will they be able to land even one blow on the Red Moon Knights. Rolex and Gucci will definitely do it. They are cool. Good luck to brother Rolex, and Gucci too. Now the Knights of the Order of the Red Moon must stand in front of the finalists, whose names will be announced by the judge. Number 9, Sir Albert, and number 123, Sir Raphael. Number 403, Sir Anthony, will be going up against Sir Manolo, number 271. Number 499, this is Jimena, you need to get into the general line of finalists. Well, who was unlucky enough to fight with Mr. Magnificent? Gucci can't wait to fight. Wait, what? Sir Gucci will fight with the commander of the Order of the Red Moon, Marcus Killian Thermos. The great warrior will be glad of their duel. A girlish squeal echoed throughout the entire training ground. It was apparently one of Marquis Thermos's fans. A roar of excitement immediately went through the crowd of participants. Gucci was so lucky he would be fighting the greatest warrior. They have completely different concepts of the word luck, and why did they treat Gucci like that? They'll carry him out of here in sacks. The commander of the knightly order observed the skills of the finalist. His fencing needs improvement, but his other abilities meet the requirements of the order. It is necessary to understand the ratio of benefit and harm. Marquis Killian is glad of their personal meeting. How scary. Then the final will be opened by Commander Thermos and finalist Gucci. All participants must clear the area for the fight. It's not fair. The Marquis is a legend of the Empire. It's like pitting a poodle against a dragon. The finalist has no reason to be so hysterical. The main character sets an example for himself of initially unfavorable conditions. What's the point? Killian is a killing machine. He can take out a village with a blink of his eyelashes. Gucci will also say that if he has to protect citizens from monsters, he will go because they are stronger than him. Wasn't he the one who beat his chest in front of the other participants? Marcus Thermos will not move from this place, and will also hold his sword in his left hand, although he is right-handed. If Gucci can force the order commander to step outside the circle, then the victory is his. It's that simple. Hey, who does the main character think Jimena is? This is too much. Even Marie could have handled such a task. It's a shame, actually. The girl values her skills much higher than this. Well, now she'll show Killian. Let the great commander not complain later that this battle ended too quickly. This guy is either stupid or crazy. Well, what youth there is, let the fight begin. The girl immediately rushed at her opponent, stepping with her left foot, transferring her weight to her right. Then a lunge with the right foot and a kick. The heiress of the Duchy of Sylvester will now show everyone here that she should not be underestimated. As the greatest warrior of the Empire, let him receive her turbo reception and not even think about begging her for mercy. What the heck? This guy didn't even flinch from her strongest attack. Killian easily threw her away with one movement of his hand. At the same time, the Marquis does not even watch the movement of the weapon. Killian simply anticipates her every step. This young man is simply incomparable to anyone. Killian is truly incredible, and it's not just about strength. The main character's mind is 10 steps ahead of the duel. There is no chance to do something that the Marquis cannot predict. It's as if he created the battlefield himself. It's just mind-boggling. And what should the girl do now? Gucci shouted so loudly about his superiority, about his strength, that now he has fallen silent. You shouldn't brag without having a reason to. This is the first lesson from the main character. Why do they tell her this all the time? But the handsome young man couldn't just give up. Jimena had come here to protect him. Is the most eligible bachelor of the Empire really jealous of the popularity of the newcomer? Gucci has already managed to conquer the inhabitants of his lands. This crazy woman seriously believes that she managed to hide her identity only with a wig, a pathetic sight. Very good. The main character is thinking about something. It's time to take advantage of the moment and strike. Well, that's it. The cyborg killer mode is activated. My wrist is tired of whining. Now, there will be a modern-day technique. The main character stared at the villainess. She was serious now. Although Killian did not expect an honest and noble fight from her. Nobody cares, everyone is watching. Jimena wants to win and prove to everyone that she is cool, that she is here by right. She's been underestimated her whole life, of course. She herself has always let others down, created problems, etc. But she can become cool. She just needs the right circumstance to do it. Seriously, a kick when they're fencing here. What Gucci is doing, this is not a fight in an alley, this is fencing. How low, but Killian easily dodged. What, Marquis? Is this serious now? Jimena bet everything on this dirty trick and lost? That's it. The main character threw the offender beyond the training arena with one movement of his hand. A heartrending cry rang out throughout the Marquis of Thermos's domains, asking why? What had she done in her past life? Jimena is doomed. She will be carried out of the training room in sacks. This is the end. Her whole brilliant plan has failed, even if Royce doesn't dare say he didn't warn her. Who would have thought that Captain Killian himself would be put against Miss? Jimena was sure that the wigs would make them invisible. Apparently, she shouldn't have relied on the cartoons. Killian is invincible, destructive, deadly, and the strongest knight in the history of this empire. One look from him could destroy a village, but the lady did better than expected. Maybe she'll get lucky here too. The methods of the modern world won't work here, and in general Royce doesn't understand anything. Now their world is doomed. The world is doomed because Jimena will not become a knight, and there is still someone left in the line for self-importance. The girl ruined everything as always. Everyone will die and she will never become a cool cop. Even if you lose a final fight, you will still take into account all the factors when making your final decision. The roaring boy's name is Gucci, isn't it? He's just allergic to pollen. My lord ordered to go to his office. Damn it, did the main character really recognize the villain in the wig? No, that can't be. The sky over the lands of Acticos immediately darkened and became covered with thunderclouds. Instantly, a torrential cold rain fell upon its inhabitants. Well, it's quite ominous and symbolic, as if nature is reflecting the approaching future of Jimena. Let Sir Gucci go over there, and that the young man should go into the Marquis of Thermos's office alone. Jimena swallowed. Why call a knight to a duel right away? Besides, the weather is terrible. Gucci has a migraine coming on. Sir Weil rolled his eyes and shoved the heroine straight into the office. Gucci needs to prepare for a meeting with such a respected person. The Marquis is his idol. He can run to get a poster for an autograph. A steely voice echoed through the room. Welcome to the lands of Acticos, Sir Gucci. Why is Jimena so scared? Killian just said hello, and she's already having a heart attack. The blow in the fight impressed the milord. What kind of technique is this? But Gucci simply found a loophole in the opponent's defense. Okay, the life of this world is literally hanging by a thread. The situation is hopeless. My lord won't understand this, but only Gucci can influence this. Only he can save. What the protagonist is doing, Killian carefully examined the girl's hand. So the participant really did hurt his wrist during the qualifying tournament. That's what happened. What is this? The enslaving charisma of the protagonist is activated. This means that the future knight brought his hand to such a state that he could not hold a sword in his hands. The young fighter wanted to defeat Captain Thermos so much. Well, now Jimena is ready to surrender to his charms. She needs to pull herself together. That is, everything was not like that. The girl had no intention of encountering the main character at all. And here it is, but it's good that at least the wig did its job and Marquis Thermos didn't recognize his stalker in the blonde. The main character began to gaze intently into the eyes of the heiress of the Duchy of Sylvester. The girl couldn't stand his piercing gaze and immediately burst into tears. Jimena came here to protect Killian. A spoiled, obsessive, promiscuous aristocrat fights men to protect the continent's greatest warrior. The Duchess has completely lost her mind. That is, they don't even know the boy. What nonsense. Marquis Thermos has nothing to do with Sir Gucci, so why would he say such a thing? Well, that. How can I explain all this so that my lord understands everything correctly and doesn't put her in a mental hospital? The villainess took a deep breath because Killian Thermos was Grenelpus's only hope. What she just said, my lord, is the only defense of this continent, so the young man must protect him. Let's say the Marquise now plays along with this crazy noblewoman. Killian must go. His son is Grenelpus's last hope. The words of the protagonist's mother again struck his consciousness with a sharp pain. Killian roared in pain. What is it? What is happening? How can Jimena help Marquis Thermos? It's because of Gucci that my lord started getting migraines. The girl was often told that at work. The main character reached his desk with difficulty and leaned his hands on it. That's not the point at all. Maybe Jimena should call a doctor here. It's crazy that the young man called Jimena here so that she would confess and reveal her goals. And this girl suddenly starts talking such utter nonsense. What's going on in her head? The protagonist called out to his right hand outside the door. Sir Weil was still here. The knight immediately entered the office. Let Weil take this participant to the doctor to heal the wrist. It will be done. The bones seem to be intact, but it's better to let the doctor look. There's no need for that. And what will happen to Gucci now? He will be put in the Acticos prison because of prohibited techniques. What? As soon as the office doors slammed shut, the main character immediately breathed a sigh of relief. What was that? What nonsense. Maybe we just shouldn't regard this lady's actions as adequate. Everyone, attention. The final list of selected candidates will now be announced. The knights immediately rejoiced. Royce immediately blossomed. But after this adventure, Miss knows for sure that being a blonde will suit her. He is asking for trouble again. Kicking the Marquise is unforgivable. Let her be glad that she is not behind bars, and let Jimena know that Royce is so pleased, he wants to strangle him. The Duchess's bodyguard was able to defeat the elder knight and hopes for more. And why, when she had a stroke after meeting the Marquis, Royce didn't say a word to her and went drinking with others. So the accepted candidates, Sir Salvador, Sir Giorgio, hooray, he passed. Sir Niccolo, he did it. Sir Manuel, the member, did it. Sir Rolex, my friend heard it, Rolex is Royce. Yeah, another plan of the failed detective failed, but Royce's lifelong dream almost came true, although it didn't spoil anything here. Well, Jimena should probably pack her things for now to head to the Duchy of Sylvester. And also this year, as an exception, they accepted another candidate not into the main team, but into the reserve team, So the girl's plan really worked. She achieved her goal for the first time. Candidate Gucci was accepted into the reserve ranks of the Order of the Red Moon, and the officer congratulates all new recruits on their victory. What? The girl didn't hear it now, but she cheated and did it more than once. Why take her into the order? Brother Gucci heard the judge's words. They will both be in the Order of the Red Moon. That's great. She's really happy for her friend. But she doesn't understand for what merits the commander of the order took her. She simply doesn't believe that everything worked out. So Jimena is really cool. So she is a great knight and achieved this herself. Not exactly, it was Marquis Killian who decided to take her into reserve. Where did that steel voice come from again? Is the Duchess already imagining the main character? Here the girl crashed into the stone market of a beautiful young man. Oh, what is Killian made of anyway? Now Jimena's nose hurts. Despite the fact that Gucci broke all the rules and lost in the final, he is now a rookie. Commander Thermos liked the fact that the newcomer continued to move forward. Gritting his teeth, a knight must have will and determination. Of course, this does not mean at all that the newcomer is accepted into the main ranks of the knightly order of the Marquis. Over the next month, Gucci will undergo basic knight training, after which the newcomer will again pass individual exams only fairly in order to receive equal rights with the others. Wait a minute, that means the girl will stay in Acticos for a month, and in a month the monster extermination tournament will start. Now that everything is clear, let the recruits settle in the Marquise's castle until we meet at the training ground. It's crazy that they actually accepted Jimena despite everything, when they could have put her in prison for attempting to assassinate the Marquis. The villainess's cheeks immediately flushed. This guy believed in her, was patient and gentle despite her impudence and stupidity. The girl immediately, joyfully called out to the main character, asking what that squeal was apparently, again one of the commander's fans from the stands. Jimena rushed across the entire area to the handsome young man and hugged him with her arms. What is this crazy woman doing? The Duchess is so grateful to the Marquis for this chance. It is really very important to her. So thank you very much for this opportunity. The girl will not betray the trust of Mr. Thermos. During this month, the heiress of the duchy will do everything possible and impossible for the sake of my lord. Wait, she needs to keep an eye on the main character, not hone her skills. Oh, how her hand hurts. Apparently, Jimena hugged her commander too tightly, and now her wrist is not ready to train. The main character shook his head wearily, apparently. He would still regret his decision. What about Brother Gucci? Everything is fine. It's part of the plan that's in the head of the Duke's daughter. There is absolutely no logic or structure in her actions. Gucci is so proud of his friend. He was taken into the main team. He deserved it. Killian will definitely figure out why these two are here. In the meantime, the main character will watch from the shadows what Jimena will do next. The Order of the Red Moon is truly incomparable. All of its knights are the best of the best, and their uniforms are so pretty. Even an ordinary knight from the reserve was given a separate room, which means that the castle of Acticos is really huge. However, Jimena is still cool. No one even suspected her of being similar to her heroine. She thought so. Killian turned out to be not so perceptive. He cannot survive in this cruel world without her. If a murderer puts on a wig and holds it to a handsome young man's throat, he will still not understand anything, but the Duchess will be nearby. In fact, the main character turned out to be a man with a big heart and a beautiful soul. Now the girl begins to understand why her heroine could not forget about Killian. So let the main character continue to save this empire from all sorts of monsters. And the villain of the novel will make sure that the main monster does not get to the young man. Here the heroine's attention was drawn to Killian's silhouette, where he was going with his right hand. The girl quickly ran out of her room and rushed after the main character. You never know how a serial killer will manifest himself. And Marquis Thermos had already had lunch, which, how are things going for the commander in general, does not worry about his health. What is the rookie talking about, and why is he even running around here now when he should be at general training? Well, what kind of training can there be if the beginner's hand still hurts and bothers him so much? Oh, how it hurts. The pain literally pierces Gucci's entire body. He can't even breathe. What a circus. Let the newbie go to the doctor and get the treatment he needs. The father on the wrist was almost asleep, but the pain was still there, and it wouldn't go away until Jimena completed the mission. What is this girl really up to? Her wrist has been healed for a long time, but she continues to act the fool. And every time the Duke's daughter sees Killian, she runs to him like a happy puppy. This woman skips training and watches the young man, peeking out from behind columns and bushes. And by pretending to have pain in his wrist, he forgets about his injury when he writes something down in his notebook. Apparently, Emperor Xenos called on his loyal Duke Sylvester to organize surveillance of the Marquis, and he sent his daughter. But what father would send his only daughter to live in a dormitory with 100 men? And where does Commander Thermos intend to go today? He needs to inspect the nearest villages. Wow, how exciting! Let my Lord Killian take the new recruit with him. He can't train anyway. It's better to keep this spy close to you than to let her collect information around the area. Since the newbie should study the area anyway, let him go with them, really. The main character is so kind, Gucci would benefit from some fresh air and sunshine, and he can sing a ballad on the road. No ballads. What if the serial killer is already in town? Then Jimena will be able to take a good look around. You have to be on your guard and keep your eyes on the main character of the novel. Wow, what is that striped thing there? It all looks very tasty, and what an incredible smell. The newbie should not be distracted by the sides. Let him stay close. And why is this woman surprised by every object she sees? The aristocrat with a bad reputation is used to going to expensive boutiques and enjoying luxury. And then the noble young lady saw an ordinary village market, and it was as if she had entered another world. Then little children ran out of the house to meet the main character with joyful cries. They are fans of Marquis Killian, he defeats everyone, and also takes care of every villager, he is the best. The young man is touched by such a high assessment. It is a great honor. How are the kids doing? Do they have enough of everything? This moment was definitely not in the original storyline. Killian is so adorable. The young man is so open and kind with other people. He sincerely helps the residents without receiving anything in return. Behind these steel muscles lies the warmest and most responsive heart, who would have thought. The main character is truly perfect in everything. Looking at him, your soul immediately becomes warmer. The inhabitants of the lands of Acticos joyfully came out to their milord. They are glad to have a new recruit in the Order of the Red Moon. All the locals love Marquis Thermos very much. It is clear that the young man is very sympathetic and generous to people. Of course, because Captain Killian is a man of a completely different kind, and not some spoiled nobleman, who does nothing but boast about his imaginary power and lined pockets. The young master always takes care of these people as if they were his own family, and the people reciprocate the same. That is why any person will follow such a person with joy and full dedication. That is how it is. So this death machine is actually just a cutie. Again, this crazy one looks at Killian strangely. The main character never ceases to impress the girl, and isn't that Sir Gucci over there? A crowd of kids pointed at Jimena, and yes, she is Gucci. What a handsome guy. And this is not the suicide bomber who kicked the Marquis. Stop. Let's not elaborate. Jimena was just acquitted, and then she couldn't win. What could she do? Well, the forbidden technique didn't bring her victory, but it brought her great fame. Knights are so cool. Let Sir Knight show his trick again. Do the children want Jimena's death or something? But she was just scared then. Milord stood still, and the uncle decided to cheat, to keep quiet. Now the kids would pay. What is going on there? What kind of childish squeals are these? The motives and methods of this lady are completely illogical. Well, I never. The blonde ran off to play with the little things, and Weil thought that he would bounce back from the commoners like he was scalded. It is true that this person has so many faces that it is now completely unclear which one is real. The villain burst into loud laughter. Next time the kids won't tease the villain. Oh, her legs. Jimena's poor legs. They advised her to stop an hour ago. The girl can no longer walk. She will spend the night here under the stars of Acticos. Since when did knights become so gentle and call their limbs legs? They walked only a little, but the blondie already did everything. Apparently, being put into the reserves was Killian's mistake. Hey, it's too late to go back on his word. Everyone has heard that Gucci has officially been inducted into the ranks of the Red Moon, and he has already become a local celebrity. And if a noble milord simply throws out a popular recruit, his reputation may suffer. This means that the new recruit is not worried about his reputation. It has already reached rock bottom. That is, he is worried like everyone else. The sunsets in Acticos' domain are so beautiful. How can you not sit here and admire such a moment? Something fell heavily onto the stairs next to the girl. What was it? It was Killian, and it felt like a piano had been dropped nearby. And where had Sir Whale gone? He had gone forward. Judging by the sarcastic jibes, the recruit has recovered from his injury. Well, in general, the girl planned to suffer a little more. Suddenly, Killian decided to examine her wrist again. In that case, full-fledged training will begin tomorrow. Jimena burst into ringing laughter. The recruit thinks that his captain is joking or something, that there was something funny in his words. The fact is that now the cold words of my lord and his steely tone no longer frighten Sir Gucci. Well, a great warrior of the Empire always looks terrifying. What can I say? However, it is worth looking at the young man in everyday life, and it becomes clear that he is an unusually kind and noble person. Milord treats everyone with incredible understanding and care, and his cold appearance only serves as a support for him in control and security. It's not like the boy was deliberately hiding his true identity from others. He really does have a creepy aura. It's just an empty shell that isn't backed up by anything like that, because a milord should be someone you can rely on without fear. And the blonde guy is definitely talking about his commander right now. What? Because his words sound like the recruit is talking about someone else, Killian doesn't want to open up to her. Well, okay, two can play this game. The Marquis of Thermos is absolutely right. Gucci was talking about a man similar to him. Are there any other people with ruby eyes and twilight-colored hair? It's not about external resemblance. Just today, while watching Mr. Thermos, the knight remembered one person. That man always pretended to be cool and calm, but he was always sympathetic, was there when needed, and was the first to help. And the girl is incredibly sorry that she will never see this man again. Then Cian retired to her office and lived out her resentment and disappointment after yet another reprimand from her superiors. Cole walked into the room. Cian was scolded again for her thoughtless behavior. He knew it. When a girl, without thinking, runs into trouble, she puts at risk not only her own safety, but also her people, who will be forced to save her, and not civilians, risking their lives. Cian wants recognition, wants to be known by everyone, but this is the police. Her greed for approval can take the lives of others. The girl must finally realize the real responsibility for each of her choices. Let Detective Cian return to her seat and think carefully about what exactly her purpose is here. Cole never spoke directly, but his concern was always obvious to those around him, with a container of hot food always on his colleagues' desks after their shifts. This man was the best mentor in person. Cole always made sure his people took care of themselves, didn't forget to eat, always had their back. This man was an example of true masculine strength, soft and calm, but so obvious. And why can't the recruit ever see this man again? He moved to another continent. Not at all. That's not what the knight meant. This man is now in another world. So this man is already in heaven? He died? In the real world, it is already spring, her favorite season. You can tell from the recruit's eyes that he was very attached to this man and still misses him. That's true. And yet he did so little for this man, although he wanted to lay the whole world at his feet. And here is a girl in another dimension chasing the same serial killer, like the plot of a drama. So the young man loved this man. Well, to be honest, yes, Cian loved Cole. This man was her soul, but the former detective found the strength to admit it to him. If only the girl knew that she would fall from a skyscraper and refuse a romantic novel, she would have told Cole everything. Gucci is grateful to Lord Thermos for today and its end. This conversation gave him strength, so the recruit will still be able to walk to his bedroom on his own 2 feet. That's the thing, Jimena was so obsessed with Killian, so clinging to him, because he reminded her of that man. Apparently, the Duchess really did lose the man who entered her soul and closed the door behind him. Jimena misses him immensely and looks for his manifestation in everyone. This feeling is familiar to Killian. Morning came quickly in the lands of Acticos, but why was my lord in his office so early? Just let Mr. Killian not tell Weil that he stayed up all night again and spent the whole night sitting in his work chair. My lord has huge dark circles under his eyes and looks terribly tired. Killian is also glad to see Vale this morning. Why didn't the captain sleep all night again? The annual qualifying tournament had already ended. It so happened that in the Acticos domains, even without selections for the Order of the Red Moon, there is plenty of work. Yesterday, Killian needed to look through this and that, then the young man burst out, and it was already dawn outside the window. Mr. Thermos doesn't take care of himself at all. It's not right. Maybe something happened and something is bothering him. Nothing special. It happens. By the way, Sir Weil came here now to report on the extraction of magic crystals. That's right. In the mines in the Glacias Mountains, everything is still unchanged. Marquis Killian's men strictly control that the workers only mine a set amount of crystals. And also, the workers installed a powerful protective barrier to ensure safety. That's right, that's the most important thing. Even though Emperor Xenos has aged, his all-consuming and boundless greed has not gone away. And the repair of the fortress walls seems to have already been completed. Everything is so, while they continue to monitor security around the perimeter of the castle. And what do the Marquis's spies report about Duke Sylvester's affairs? Are there any changes? The knights say that his only daughter also did not appear at the family estate, which is strange. Leaving the lands of the duchy unattended is very reckless. What is this rotten family planning? Weil is joking now, but the young man really doesn't even have a clue where Himena is right now. What is my lord talking about? How could Weil know this? This is already beginning to seriously worry Killian. Then Himena's laughter was heard. What kind of sound was that? It must be seagulls flying outside the master's window. In the training arena, the villainess was riding the rookie with all her might, Gucci on his shoulders and running. More, Gucci wants to ride again. Who would have thought that being a knight of the Order of the Red Rose would be so much fun? Okay, one more time. Gucci on the neck and run. How high, how tall is the guy in general? That's it, the young man is tired. Well, one last time, let him ride Gucci and he will fall behind. Pick Gucci up and run. Everyone stand. The new recruits of the knightly order immediately turned around at the commander's voice. The milord had already arrived. This girl has absolutely no personal boundaries. She has been pestering Killian's knights since the morning. The recruits are also the personification of the lands of Acticos. Strangers can appear at any moment. And here she arranged a race on the guys. Adequacy doesn't even try to approach it anymore. Why constantly attract attention to oneself? If only these naive boys knew that they were being brazenly groped by a spoiled noblewoman, and not by their comrade in arms. The officer was absent all this or something. Why the training ground turned into a children's playground. This way you can completely lose discipline. The recruits still have time before the start of classes. Even during rest, chaos and debauchery should not reign in the ranks of the best troops. But the milord himself gave free rein to his knights during rest. What a blockhead. Killian is just saving these poor guys from a clingy girl. Let Weil focus on his report. What's wrong with the main character today? He's clearly not in a good mood. He looks bad from fatigue. Yesterday he was completely different. As soon as Killian said Gucci's name, he jumped up on the spot. And when did my lord manage to get so close? As far as Marcus Thermos knows, the recruit's wrist hasn't fully healed yet, has it? Yes, that's true, so you have to be more delicate with Gucci. His arm hurts. The boy has been taking advantage of his injury to laze around for a long time now, and he's clearly already bored. My lord Killian will give the new recruit a job that suits his injury, but Himena doesn't like it. From today until his full recovery, Gucci will be with the Marquis and serve him. It couldn't be better, since the main character will always be in the girl's sight, just like the serial killer with golden curls. For any knight, his hand is his life, so no objections. The recruit must strictly follow the orders of his captain. Yeah, I get it, Gucci, big deal. But she was a cop not long ago, and she was also respected. Not by everyone and not very much, but she worked on it. Let the officer continue training the new recruits of the order. It will be done. Why is Gucci standing there? Let him follow his commander. That's for sure. Why is my lord Killian so angry today? Perhaps the commander didn't sleep all night again? Or maybe something happened. Meanwhile, in the imperial palace, Prince Diego requested an audience with his majesty. Let the heir come into the office. The conversation will clearly not be easy. By the way, Prince Diego is already 20 years old. After the death of the second prince from illness, Diego was born 2 years later, and it was a real joy. Since childhood, Diego has been distinguished by his immodest mind and observation. He is completely different from the current Crown Prince Felix. But the eldest son, Felix, is not like that at all. The emperor's thoughts were interrupted by his son. Prince Diego is glad to see the son of the empire. Let his son quickly come to the office. Diego inherited his mother's visual and spiritual beauty. His father works so hard. His son worries about his health. The son had absolutely nothing to worry about. The emperor patted him on the shoulder contentedly. His old man was not yet so weak as to get tired of this. What brought Prince Diego to his father today? The heir has an important conversation. So very interesting. This is a serious decision that requires the participation of His Majesty. It seems that the emperor already guesses what will be discussed. This year, Prince Diego turned 20 years old. The emperor laughed loudly. He thought so. And it is for this reason that the emperor's heir wants to find a life partner. He needs his father's advice. Judging by the expression on his son's face, Diego already has a candidate for such an enviable role. Of course, the prince approached the question of marriage very responsibly. He familiarized himself with all the possible candidates of their empire. His Excellency expected nothing less from his son, and who was so lucky to become the wife of the prince and the daughter-in-law of the emperor. Lady Jimena Sylvester, daughter of one of the founders of the empire. Why exactly her? This girl ran after Marcus Thermos for years and tormented him with her adoration. She is promiscuous in her relationships, and now she generally wears men's suits and forms an order of mold. Prince Diego laughed loudly. He really understood all his father's fears. This girl was the epicenter of all the dirty scandals. However, Himena comes from the founding line of the Kadem Empire and its most influential noble house. Besides, judging by the latest events, the heiress has already forgotten Killian and will follow the new poor fellow. But this is completely unimportant. The main thing is that Sylvester's house and the growing house of Thermos do not unite. So why don't they prevent Marquis Killian from gaining power through a dynastic marriage? Meanwhile, the head of Acticos was calmly sorting through his documents under the villainess's watchful gaze. And how to understand this, he called her to serve, but did not give any instructions, as if Killian simply took her away from the boys. The main character has been in a bad mood since the morning, so starting a conversation today is not an option. Although on the other hand, it's even better this way, Himena calmly watches her target from close up. Up close, the cosmic beauty of this guy is simply blinding. Himena won't be able to look at him for long. He's like the sun. That marble skin, those sharp features that you could cut yourself on even if you touched them. Damn it, Killian has been looking at the same page for an hour now, trying to make it look natural. The noble Marquis had never given orders to anyone before. It was not in his nature, he took care of himself, so he told all the maids not to worry. And it won't be possible to just let this crazy woman go. Besides, she will pester the new recruits again. What a ridiculous situation this is. It was obvious from the young people that they were both about to say something. But they didn't dare. Let my Lord Thermos speak first. No, if there is something to say, let Gucci speak first. Well, the thing is that the new recruit had never served anyone before. For this reason, Gucci does not know what to do. Well, let the young man bring the Lord a cup of tea. It will be done. What kind of tea to bring to the gentleman? Let the young man ask in the kitchen about his favorite variety. They know there. Okay, Gucci will be back in a jiffy. Let the handsome young man not get bored here. When will the situation with this lady be resolved and we won't have to worry about her insidious plans? Hello everyone. The young man's name is Gucci. He is a new recruit of the Order of the Red Moon, and from today he serves the Milord. This is the same notorious boy who hit the best marquis in the world right between. No need to talk about it again. The situation has just calmed down. You can just Gucci. The maids are happy to meet him. And up close, the boy really is cute, even looks a bit like a girl. Yes, like a noble lady, and like such a fragile boy, she was thrown around by healthy opponents. She was saved by modern tricks. Well, my Lord Killian wanted to keep the young man close and even appointed him as his servant. So the boy really caught their master's eye, but no, they have a different relationship. There were knights who gained popularity in tournaments, but only an enemy would be allowed to get so close. So that's how it is. It means that Himena, in the guise of a blonde recruit, somehow appealed to the main character. It's so strange. By the way, it's true, because injuries among the knightly order are a completely common thing. So why then was she the only one sent to the bench and Killian's personal service? Why was she singled out? Stop. Himena's intrusive attention disgusted him, and some blonde guy immediately caught his eye, which meant Killian loved men. What kind of nonsense is she thinking? The main character falls in love with this Inez, so this version is just stupid. My Lord Killian asked me to bring him some tea. Yes, let the boy wait a couple of minutes and I can ask him a question. Of course, the maids didn't accidentally see a blonde girl with long curls in the vicinity of the castle. This girl also has ice blue eyes. The maid doesn't even know, and her colleague hasn't heard anything like that. None of them remember such a girl in the vicinity of Acticos Castle. All guests are strictly controlled by the knightly order of Marquis Killian. No one can slip in here unnoticed. And all the working staff have been working here for a very long time. They all know each other. They are already like a big family. Besides, golden hair color is so rare. If such a girl appeared here, she would definitely be remembered. And who is this girl? Is she really the boy's lover or just his childhood friend? They had lost contact with her a long time ago, so Gucci thought that maybe she was now living in the lands of Acticos. So this is the boy's first love. How lovely. But Gucci didn't say that at all. If the maids suddenly notice someone similar here, let them tell him when Inez crawls out of the shadows and starts acting. But if the main character realizes that the villain is looking for her, the situation will escalate, and she needs to act carefully. The new recruit brought the Lord's favorite tea, which had just been brewed by the maids in the kitchen. Very handy. Let the boy sit down on the sofa. They will drink tea together, okay? The young man is grateful for the invitation. He wouldn't mind some tea. After all, it's chaga mushroom tea. That's right. The chaga mushroom is a local product and has many beneficial properties. It is very beneficial to health, so any knight should drink this tea more often. By the way, in addition to absorption, kombucha also promotes rapid healing of injuries. The aroma of this drink is really pleasant, although unusual. By the way, Milord Thermos asked the servants to prepare housing for Gucci closer to Killian's chambers. What? The new recruit was already comfortable. Today, Gucci will move into his new home. Of course, this flirt is comfortable living among men. What a shame. Let Gucci not argue and follow orders. This will make it easier to serve Mr. Killian. Is that really the only thing? And also, it is very inconvenient for a girl that is a new recruit to wash in a shared bathroom. He can use Killian's personal bathroom. What's going on here anyway? Gucci has nothing to worry about. My lord is often not in his private quarters. So when the new recruit takes a bath, Killian will be in a different place. And this is already too much. What kind of VIP conditions are these for a knight from the reserve? Why is Killian doing this? The maids said that this was the first time their master had kept a new recruit so close to him, and that Gucci had definitely taken a liking to him. First, caring for the wrist, now a separate room, and even their separate shared bathroom. What? And this can only mean one thing: the blonde guy with the cute face really likes the main character. Well, Jimena cleared her throat and announced with a businesslike air that she respected everyone's personal preferences. However, since Gucci's preferences are radically different, he asks that everyone respect each other's boundaries. What did he say? What nonsense is the guy talking? Well, in general, Gucci does not share Killian's sympathy, even though he is incredibly handsome. Killian didn't understand anything. Well, the recruit will go. Where is that? They gave him a new room, so he needs to pack his things. But the handsome Marquis must remember one thing: the young blonde with gorgeous skin does not accept his feelings. That's it. Gucci is gone. What was that crazy woman talking about? What nonsense. This woman will confuse anyone with her actions. Killian already has a headache from her. And what did she mean when she spoke about some preferences and feelings? The forest in the center of the continent is Catarates. A woman's scream was heard throughout the forest thicket. And why is this knight screaming like a girl? Sir Knight, you should be more careful. If it weren't for the kind uncle, Gucci would have broken his beautiful face. This girl is also annoyingly clumsy. How much trouble she is. You have to watch your step when you walk. The knight came here to protect civilians, but in the end he can't take a step without their help. By the way, the blonde is a candidate for the main team. Stop bragging. It's better that Gucci doesn't bring new troubles. This boy can't even defend himself, but he boasts to the residents that he can defend them with his eyes closed. Which just looks pathetic. Stop disgracing the Order of the Red Moon. Bragging doesn't make a knight look good, so what if she embellished it a bit? The other knights began to watch the endless verbal altercation between Marquis Thermos and the new recruit with interest. It's all so strange and unexpected that Captain Killian never let any of the new recruits get close, which is logical. Well, they say that their noble and caring milord was looking after this poor fellow because he injured his wrist against Lord Killian. By the way, Gucci was always interested in finding out what magical animals look like. So the curious boy really wanted to see the magical beasts, but still hasn't done anything. It's not like him. For a long time, the main character will continue to flick Jimena's nose, although there really should always be someone next to her who will ground her. It is said that the villages closest to the forest are protected by a magical barrier made of magic stones. It is true that magical creatures come in different sizes and types, but they all have one thing in common: ferocity. The Catarates forest is located in the center of the continent, making it difficult for the knights to protect all the villages around it 24/7. And in order to protect civilians from magical beasts, Marquis Thermos installed not only magical barriers, Killian also created a shortcut through this forest, which sounds pretty smart. The locals are so lucky to be under the patronage of the Marquis of Thermos. That's not all. Thanks to this route, not only did villages become better connected to each other, but states also began to cooperate more actively. Their noble lord gave his people the opportunity to earn a living. With such merits, even the emperor would find it difficult to treat Killian without due respect. The pleasant attendant sat down on the ground and picked something, and it was the chaga mushroom that their master loved so much. Is this really a mushroom? It looks more like a black stone on a tree. And the uncle will allow Gucci to get it. He is very strong, but let the new recruit be more careful. The mushroom is firmly seated in the tree. Now the blonde will quickly deal with this monster. At least Gucci's bravado has some basis. Or maybe the boy wants to intentionally injure his only surviving arm right now. Well, the new recruit has already arrived here, which means he needs to make his contribution. But for now, Gucci is only making his contribution to the development of problems. That nice guy said that first you need to tap the base of this mushroom with a hammer. This will be enough, and now the boy needs to pull the mushroom towards himself with all his might. Once, twice, and 3 times. The girl pressed her feet against the tree and pulled the mushroom towards herself. She succeeded. Everyone can see it. Why did the boy lift his feet off the ground? He would lose his balance and fall. Well, another crazy plan in pursuit of general recognition. How softly he fell. Gucci can already rise. What the? Jimena plopped down heavily right on top of the main character. She could feel his stone torso with her back. The recruit had already had enough rest on his commander. The girl immediately jumped up. She didn't do it on purpose. Captain Thermos told Gucci not to create difficulties for anyone. Apparently this is his path in life. Nothing can be done about it. My lord is fine. No one is hurt. He can call a doctor. Everything is fine. The protagonist pushed off the ground and rose to his feet, not realizing that he would be too close to the villain. They both immediately blushed and turned away from each other. And why did it suddenly become so awkward? Here in the depths of the forest, a call was heard. One of the knights reported to his commander that some movement had been recorded. What exactly is the knight talking about? Something is wrong with one of the magical barriers. Marquis Thermos's small detachment approached the breach in the magical barrier. This is bad. Then a nasty chirping sound was heard, and a huge centipede crawled out of the crack. Why was it so gigantic? Gucci can wait until the insect comes down and ask everyone to urgently move to a safe mood. The magical beast is here. The main character threw the girl behind his back in one movement, telling her to stay behind him. Killian will deal with the threat. Some knights must protect the inhabitants. Others must strengthen the magical barrier after the battle. It will be done, but why doesn't anyone take Gucci into account? He can help. Holy shit. The main character is really going to deal with this machine on his own. Not a muscle moved on the handsome young man's face. His gaze was calm and confident. Wow, he is simply incredible. Every movement of Killian is enslaving. His noble composure, his unshakable confidence. A scarlet magical aura began to appear around the Marquis. Wow, that's what was written on the pages of the novel. The girl can't believe that she was able to see this fabulous phenomenon in real life. The giant centipede pinched furiously and rushed at the captain. Killian blocked its attack with one precise movement, after which the young man went on the attack. You can't take your eyes off Killian. Jimena looks like she's watching an action movie with expensive special effects. Pieces of the magical beast's flesh flew towards the blonde. Ugh. Well, just not in the hair. After the pinpoint attack, the main character gave a signal to his knights. Now it will be done. Several knights began to set up magic stones to strengthen the barrier. As soon as the magical red minerals were dropped into the ground, they glowed red. It was as if a scarlet thunderstorm had thundered in the sky, and the magical barrier began to quickly grow together right before our eyes. Everything is ready. The magic barrier has been restored. Great job. All civilians can return to the group of knights. It is safe here again. Phew, that's a normal reaction. Gucci met a magical creature for the first time in his life. That's why he was so scared. The recruit wasn't scared at all. He was more worried about his lord. Jimena lowered her head and squealed. What is that? Blood. When will Gucci stop pretending to be God knows what? No one believes him anyway. Let him get up off the ground. How does the boy navigate in space? Is there a hearing or coordination problem? Everything is fine. Well, that's great then. Congratulations on the new recruits initiative. Well, thank you, that's all. I would like to take a hot bath 10 times. They were really done for today. Let the squad and the residents gather supplies and move towards the village. Why is the girl's heart beating so hard? Must it be from fear? Or is this incredible guy to blame for everything? When she was around him, Jimena's thoughts began to get confused. She always unconsciously came closer to him. Stop. She needed to immediately change this attitude. This is life. Now the girl really feels like she has been reborn. It's been so long since Jimena took a bath. Warm water washes away all the fatigue. Fragrant foam dispels bad thoughts. All the time she was here, she had to get up at dawn and ask Royce to stand guard so she could wash in the common bath. There was no one there. Miss need not worry. Previously, the knights always invited Gucci to join them in the common bath, which made the Duchess so uncomfortable. Killian called her just in time, so she managed to get out of going to the bathhouse with the others. And this was not the only time. The main character always pulled her out of similar troubles. And now the girl has her own bathroom. What a relief. She missed it so much. Wait, what if this was a plan to seduce cute Gucci? What if Killian opens the door now and tells me about his feelings? Although the Marquis is very noble and pious, and besides he has that damn Inez, his preferences could not change. And why does this thought now make the girl feel offended? What came over her? She needs to throw all these stupid thoughts out of her head. How can a person be so beautiful and strong, even if they are on the pages of a romantic novel? This majestic silhouette, a strong hand holding a sword, strong and reliable shoulders, next to him you feel safe. What can I say? Such a guy will immediately penetrate the soul of any girl and stay there forever, whether she likes it or not. No romantic overtones. She must achieve something, at least here. Himena can learn swordsmanship from the greatest warrior. Meanwhile, the main character nobly waited outside while the villainess washed herself in his bathroom. Sooner or later, this woman would have been exposed by the other knights if Killian had not given her his bathroom. And what would she have done then? Why is every plan of hers so thoughtless? Yet it is impossible not to watch this marathon. Wait a minute, why can't this young man stop following this crazy woman? What is he even talking about? This way you can get sucked in without even having time to come to your senses. And this is the worst candidate in such a case. You need to pull yourself together. Apparently, the girl will be washing herself from the forest until dawn, so it is better to spend time on work instead of empty expectations. The office is just along the way, just a minute, but there is no lock on Killian's personal bathhouse. This means that any knight can search for the commander, but if he finds the naked Duchess Sylvester, there will be no end to rumors. After the protagonist did not find Himena in the bathroom, he went to his office. The heiress of the Duchy of Sylvester snored peacefully on his sofa, hugging some kind of bundle. And why is this woman sleeping in such a position on the Marquis's sofa? He told her to go and rest after bathing. And this crazy woman's wig has slipped. Killian will pretend he didn't notice, and what's going on there? Apparently, this is the drawing of the castle that the Marquis of Vela asked for, and his assistant passed the drawing on through Himena. And how can a person who is afraid of exposure behave so calmly? What a strange woman. The Duchess had left Killian's private bath no more than 3 minutes ago, and had already fallen into a deep sleep. Apparently, only the Marquis fears her exposure and makes efforts to prevent this from happening. And some people behave too carelessly, and what should the main character do with this lady? If we were to finally reveal Himena's identity and begin interrogating her, how would she react? Would she reveal her goals? Then, during the qualifying tournament, this girl cried and insisted that she only came to protect Killian. All her gestures, facial expressions, voice, gaze, and body movements indicated that the Duchess was indeed telling the truth. However, the young Marquis did not understand at all what was meant, what threat the heiress was talking about then. Here, the main character noticed that the girl's body began to inevitably lead to the side. Oh no. The handsome Marquis reacted with lightning speed and extended his hand, his palm landing on Himena's cheek. Damn it, what is the greatest warrior and defender of the Empire doing now? What an absurd situation. Why is Killian even keeping an eye on the one who stalked him and blackmailed him into paying attention to her? Okay, the young man was already tired of trying to figure out the motives of this crazy woman. Himena was clearly very tired. It would be better to take her to her room. It is not possible to leave the heiress of the duchy to spend the night in the Marquis's personal office. This could lead to unfavorable consequences. Their entire acquaintance with this woman only led the young man to unfavorable consequences. And now, because of his responsiveness, Killian gives her his bath, covers her in front of the other knights, holds her head so that she doesn't hit herself. Too close, it would be very bad if someone entered Killian's office right at that moment. We need to try to lift this girl without waking her up. Then Himena's eyes opened wide. Oh, the situation is bad. And what should I tell the Marquis now about what is happening here and now? Well, all the circumstances are completely not in the Marquis's favor, especially if you consider that there is a girl in front of him, which is what my lord was just about to do. The girl, as always, did not think for long, swung her head and hit the main character with her forehead with all her might. Oops, that hurt more than expected, but Marquis Thermos was the first to do wrong. If his attempts continue, then one blow to Gucci's head will not be enough. Well, will Killian still try to help this stupid and inadequate woman? And he warned himself. Now the recruit also has a headache. What is the skull of this device made of? It's like it collided with a bus. The main character blushed with shame and rubbed his swollen forehead, and what a woman. Morning came quickly in the lands of Acticos, and Royce immediately found his mistress. The villainess was already at the training ground. Miss was okay. Royce heard about the attack of a magical monster in the forest. Himena was definitely not hurt, except perhaps her pride, which meant her friend was worried about her. What kind of flirting is this Royce is picking a fight again, and how long has Himena been serving Marquis Thermos? To be honest, the dismissal is just around the corner. Himena broke all the teacups from the set and spilled ink on important documents. And she also poured wine on the milord. The girl doesn't understand why everyone is so irritated. She considers her clumsiness cute. And even after all this, Miss is still alive. And why is Royce not at all happy about this? Doesn't my lady understand herself? Then this is not just like that. Then the Marquis has guessed everything long ago, as Royce said at the very beginning of the tournament. Either the head of Acticos Castle really knew who they were from the beginning, or the rumors are true. What rumors? Why shout like that? Let Royce tell her immediately. No way, Jimena forgot that now the young man no longer serves her. Now Jimena hits him like that. Judging by the shadow, the girl's wrist has long since healed, and she's just pretending to be sick. The villainess immediately pulled her hand back, and her hand didn't heal at all. She still had trouble holding the sword in it. But doesn't it seem to the Duchess that her goal is not at all chivalry and the noble duty of her empire? Well, what kind of hints are these again, and what other goals can one pursue in such an outfit? Well, the Marquis despised Jimena in dresses. Royce wants to fight. And where did all these numerous rumors come from that the greatest warrior had an affair with one of his knights? What did you say? Who dared to say something like that? Killian will raze everyone to the ground. These cretins don't understand what they're talking about. And they climb for their death out of turn, Killian and Jimena. Who would even believe this? It's absolutely impossible. This rumor really took hold among the knights, because the Marquis was also inhumanly handsome, but he rejected all the noble ladies who flocked to him. And in general, the great warrior lived as if the word love was an empty sound for him, apparently. All this time, Marquis Thermos had been interested in men. They say that the unconquered bachelor was lassoed by some inconspicuous and puny guy who said, Royce knows how this new reality can hit hard, even the most obsessed fan of Lord Killian. So now is the time for Jimena to finally let go of her obsession with Mr. Thermos. She may even convince herself that if it weren't for this, he would have liked the stalker. But Killian simply doesn't like women. Royce was completely tired of living after all. It seemed like he had only recently realized his lifelong dream. But it must be admitted that Jimena should have been born a man. As a woman, she was completely uninteresting and mostly annoying to everyone. Why do you suddenly have such thoughts? Miss likes to wash her hair only once a week. As soon as the heiress of the duchy became a man, she immediately became popular. Even the most desirable man could not resist the sweet bun, Gucci, although Jimena used to make him gag. So he was lucky to be born pretty. Stop talking from a male perspective. Jimena is a girl. Royce would never say such a thing out loud, but the circumstances demand it. Jimena has always been important to him, both when she was just an aristocrat and now. The young man doesn't care who she decides to be, Jimena or Gucci. Royce is such a cutie. Why does she have such a friend? The young man himself does not know. Most likely he sinned somewhere. Well, that's enough poetry for today. That's what my lady decided. Jimena is returning to Carafadon, not at all. In fact, she has important business here. No retreats. Yeah, what kind of task are you talking about? Miss only wanted to get the title of Red Moon Knight. To create in the Duchy of Sylvester its own order with a disgusting name. What's going on in Jimena's head again? Another plan doomed to failure and prosecution. It doesn't matter. For now, we need to sort out the rumors. If Royce hears something like that, let him stop it. The girl will soon join the general training. She needs to collect her thoughts. Oh well. If Cian had been born a man in her past life, her life would have changed. She would still have definitely become a detective. However, if she had the appearance of her character, she could have become a popular idol, a TV show star, or an actor in dramas. And Royce would become her bodyguard. Everyone praises her, wants to be a part of her life. It suits her. However, the situation has now escalated and things are going too far. And what will happen next with the original plotline of the novel, and what if Inez is not a serial killer at all? According to the original story of the novel, Killian was supposed to meet the main character literally by the will of fate. So it is simply impossible for handsome Gucci to intervene and ruin the relationship between the main characters. Of course, if the girl's life didn't depend on it, she would try her luck and become closer to Killian, but alas. However, a natural question arises as to why Killian's preferences were then turned upside down. Or maybe no one had ever fought back against him before, but Jimena just went and kicked him. She was scared and wanted to win, and in general it was instinctive. Suddenly, the Marquis is a typical hero from a second-generation chaebol drama. Gucci is the first man who dared to hit the greatest warrior. Well, of course, now it's all clear that's exactly it. Killian fell in love with Gucci because of that fatal kick. It didn't work out very well. It was already dark on the streets of Acticos. It was time to return to his room. And what was a new recruit doing here at such a time? Why is the main character standing in such a pose? He is clearly flirting with Gucci. We need to ignore this. So the main character was waiting for Jimena here, a very secluded place, and at such an hour there is no one to be found here. How hard it is to be a popular guy and everyone likes you. It was much easier to be Jimena, but here it's just continuous attention. The Marquis puts the young man in an awkward position. If they continue to clash without reason, people will begin to suspect something. Gucci had already told this dazzling, handsome man to keep a safe distance from him. The recruit understands that his beauty is captivating and immediately absorbs the mind, but Killian himself is not such a special person. In fact, this guy excites Jimena with his mere presence, but they are not destined to be together, so they need to sit down right away. Wait a minute, what's wrong with the main character's face? Did her words really hurt the eternally reserved and cold-blooded milord? The beautiful young man already knows this. The recruit already has a person whom his soul considers special. Come on, what is the main character talking about? Another person has taken a special place in his heart. However, the handsome Marquis is forced to dispel the misunderstanding. He had absolutely no plans to take Gucci's heart. What did he say? How is it? But didn't the Marquis fall in love with the new recruit? Killian didn't intend to take that man's place. Something Gucci doesn't understand at all. The Marquis must be crazy about him. Jimena couldn't be mistaken. On the other hand, the girl is rarely right, but there were so many signals. Since the recruit has come here, let him take this. And why does Gucci need this sword? He has his own. Yesterday, during general training in the square, Mr. Thermos noticed that Gucci was wearing a sword that didn't suit him. For this reason, the commander of the knightly order ordered a new sword for him, which would quickly become familiar to him. Wait a minute, in addition to the drawing of the castle, Sir Weil passed on another drawing through the Duchess. So the vice-captain handed over the drawing of a new sword for the recruit. Exactly what Gucci would say, awesome. The heroine really had a hard time handling the swords all this time. They were all too heavy for her. And the new sword is just perfect for Jimena in length, and it is also much lighter. The weapon fits perfectly in the hand. This baby is simply magnificent. The heiress of the duchy is simply delighted. Royce will be jealous. His idol gave her a sword. Judging by the numerous arm swings, Gucci's wrist has long since healed. Of course, it has long been as good as new. And in general, it didn't really hurt. Oh, look, that is, the recruit's arm still hurts like that. Starting tomorrow, Gucci will be returning to the training ground at the appointed time. Enough of this slacking off. But doesn't the girl need to court the lord anymore? You wouldn't wish such courtship on your enemy. No doubt about it. Today, the right hand of the Red Moon commander brought very unpleasant news. Sir Weil is very embarrassed to say this, but there are rumors among the knights about the closeness of Milord Thermos and the new recruit Gucci. What other rumors? Well, this is that Mr. Killian is too concerned about the newcomer with white hair. Let Weil finish speaking, as if for the captain he was not just a subordinate, but a lover. She is not a special person for Killian, nor is he for her, but the young man is really worried about her. Maybe because she is all alone here. After all, every day she is forced to hide, to be on guard. She is terribly clumsy, always ruining everything and creating problems, and Killian always takes care of the weak. Or maybe after many years of persecution, the main character just feels unaccustomed and continues to expect something from her. So today is the day of the final adaptation training for the new recruits. The Order of the Red Moon welcomes every newcomer who will carry their banner with valor and honor. Marquis Thermos's squad is grateful to everyone present for making it all this way. And where is the main character now? Stop. Why is Jimena thinking about him now? Today is not only the end of the adaptation period. Today there will be an official greeting of new recruits to the ranks of the Red Moon Knights. Here it is. And why doesn't Killian notice her? It seemed to the girl that they had become closer, and the Marquis now seemed not to notice her at all, as if she were emptiness. The initiation ceremony was declared open. Everyone is ready to march? Yes, sir? Well, yes, Jimena asked to keep her distance, and he turned her into dust. It's actually a shame. The main character jumped on his horse. Each newcomer coped with the training perfectly. But only after passing the final test, the forced march, will the newcomers officially become part of the order. Today, the participants have to get to that point, to the middle of Mount Gicalius. Marquis Killian will accompany them. Commander Thermos wants to reach the goal without a single straggler. Killian didn't even turn around. Jimena doesn't like this at all. She was so sure that the fantastic young man was crazy about her, and he was ignoring her, so stop. She needed to pull herself together. And to finish what she started with dignity, Jimena spent so much time training. She is familiar with modern techniques. She can handle it. She didn't hear what? Did she hear something wrong? Are they a death squad or something? Or are there only those here who have nothing to lose? That is, the guys really need to climb to that mountain peak. Without safety equipment, the management has completely lost its mind. The officer nodded approvingly. This year the newcomers were lucky. Last season the task was much more difficult, sir. This is not serious now, right? The top of this rock is named Marursa Roca, so it will be good for the last task, and what else should that mean? Well, in other words, this rock is called the Rock of Death, Jimena swallowed. Yeah, not a drop of pressure. It seems that the new recruit forgot to turn off the iron in the castle, and he also needs to water the flowers anyway. He'll be back soon. Stop! The officer instantly flew up to the newcomer and grabbed him by the scruff of the neck. The cliff of death is on the other side. That's why Gucci is going in the opposite direction. The main task of every knight of the Order of the Red Moon is to unquestioningly follow the orders of his commander. There is no place for cowardice or baseness here. But this is all pure madness. Let the officer tell you honestly, they just decided to kill them. Well, let's go ahead and test it. How can you even climb onto this thing? The officer sees superheroes in front of him here. Enough whining already. All the squads of the Red Moon Order went through the mission with the Cliff of Death, and only Gucci decided to escape from it. If the kid really trained hard and understands why he is here, then he can do it. Gucci can't. He won't go for it. Save me, good people, help me, they are killing me. Gucci is so handsome and young, he has something to lose. But what about his fans? And in general, the newbie has acrophobia, thalassophobia, uranophobia, and the psychologist also said that he has borderline personality disorder with low self-control. The girl grabbed the rock with her nails, let her go home. A loud roar was heard throughout the area. What kind of sound is that? There must be an elk under them in the forest. What a relief. Royce is up there, my friend. He shouldn't give up and look down. They're almost there. What are we talking about at all? There are still 3 eras to crawl to the top. That's how the former detective will die. He will fall from a height for the second time. Royce began to climb down the rocky ledges to help his wayward friend. Even if she just didn't move, Jimena could do that easily. What the girl says is that Royce is a dream friend, but she is a bad friend. He should move on and not take risks because of her. Anyway, the boy with perfect skin is doomed. It's a pity that the gene pool will lose such a valuable specimen. So let the friend crawl up for both of them. There is too much empty bravado and stupidity in this DNA code, so the gene pool will breathe a sigh of relief. Who said that? The main character was next to the recruit. Gucci doesn't want to move to the list of the dead. This guy has even heard of team building. Stop hugging that ledge. The fans will die of jealousy. And Gucci probably wants to look in the mirror. He hasn't done that for 30 minutes, that's it. It would be better if the main characters simply didn't notice the villain, as was the case not so long ago. However, the words of the beautiful escort had an effect. Killian was bringing her, and she wanted at all costs to prove to him that she could do it. Absolutely all recruits always cope with this damn rock. It should not paint its foot below. My head started to spin. Apparently the girl was seriously nervous. Let the guys go. Gucci will catch up with them. Oh no. It seems the heroine has tied the bandages on her chest too tightly, and now she has difficulty breathing. Go ahead, Gucci, the guy is almost there, just a little bit left and he can rest. Let him hold on. Does the newbie have any other options? Royce is ready to come to the aid of a friend. Just let him say the word. Let Rolex stand at the top and meet his handsome brother. Gucci almost crawled. The girl's hand finally found the final ledge of the death cliff, and she did it. The villainess began to climb to the top of the mountain, just in time, because her strength had completely left her body. The recruits helped the poor guy pull himself together. Gucci coped. He's a good guy. It's all over now. The girl rose to her feet with difficulty. Sweat was pouring down her face. Why was everyone so fresh? Was she the only one who was tired or something? And why hasn't Jimena's breathing recovered? Maybe there just isn't enough oxygen at such an altitude. It starts to get dark before her eyes. Her temples are throbbing heavily. Apparently the bandages are still squeezing her chest too much. So, all the candidates of the Red Moon Order have successfully completed their final test. That's right. Great job. The guys showed themselves well and deserved a good rest. The guys immediately screamed with delight. Here, not far from the top of the cliff, is a hidden corner of Glacias, the hot springs of Lagrima. Hooray, this is a gift from the gods, available only to those who manage to get to this place. There is nothing to breathe. I can't breathe, I need to unfasten my coat. It seems the girl is losing consciousness. There was a rumble behind the crowd of recruits. Everyone can go to the springs and rest. What's all the noise? Rookie Gucci lost consciousness and fell to the ground. No visible wounds, no blood. What's wrong with him? Royce started calling Jimena. Miss needs to come to her senses quickly before Commander Thermos notices. Come on, Gucci needs to wake up. What happened here? Maybe the boy got sunstroke. No one saw the young man hit or hurt himself, and the knights have no idea what happened to him. The main character sat down next to the villainess. Let him eat. albeit muffled, breathing, weak. The newcomer hears his captain. He can open his eyes or speak. The girl whispered Killian's name. The main character bent down lower to make out her words. Her chest was pressing hard. What? The commander of the Red Moon, without a second's hesitation, called the non-commissioned officer. He is here. Let my lord give the orders. The officer must immediately lead all participants to the hot springs further along the route. And what about Marcus Thermos and the new recruit Gucci? The commander will personally take care of the new recruit's safety. Why did the non-commissioned officer freeze? Let him immediately take the people away from here. It will be done. Loyal to his friend, Royce looked at her lifeless body with fear. Rolex can go with the others. Milord Killian will take care of his friend. The Duchess's knight nodded to his commander and followed the rest of his teammates. The protagonist was left alone with the villain of the novel, and so she said that she had difficulty breathing. There really is less air here in the mountains, so it is more difficult to breathe. But this is definitely not the main reason. If a girl spoke about a pressing pain in her chest, it means that something is squeezing her ribcage. And not allowing the Duchess to breathe normally, the main character began to hesitantly unbutton the jacket of the failed spy. As soon as the Marquis opened his knight's uniform, bandages immediately appeared. That's the problem. The handsome hero's face immediately turned purple. Why does he need this woman? He always gets into such situations with her. Well, forgive me, Duchess. Either Killian must leave her to die in these bandages, or rip these damn bandages off. And to free the chest from the shackles, this moment will haunt the young man in nightmares for a long time. The protagonist sighed decisively and began to unwind the bandages, with difficulty suppressing his embarrassment and shame. This was the final test for the new recruits of the Red Moon Order this season. While all the participants were relaxing in the hot springs, the former detective tried not to die from suffocation. More precisely, the main character of this novel did not allow her to do this. Where is Jimena? Is she really in her room? Wait a minute. The girl clearly remembers the Mountain of Death, her screams, how she ended up here. Royce was on duty at Jimena's bedside the whole time. The young man was very tired and fell asleep right in a sitting position. The villainess managed to wake the guy up with difficulty. Royce immediately jumped up, and finally his friend came to her senses. There was even a blush on the cheeks of the man who always had well-thought-out plans. Jimena was really fine. But what happened anyway? And how did it happen that the Duchess ended up here instead of Glacia's? Does the miss really not remember this? No. The girl lost consciousness and fell right at the top due to suffocation. Oh well, is it true or not? Jimena became ill so suddenly that my lord personally helped her and then brought her to his castle. Seriously, Jimena is starting to remember something, and the other participants were sent to the hot springs. As soon as Mr. Thermos brought the Duchess to the doctor, she immediately felt better, and she was transferred to her private quarters. Wait, what? How can I go to the doctor? Because during the examination, the doctor could find out that this is all just a brilliant disguise. A doctor would have immediately determined that Jimena is a woman. This is debatable. Royce is asking for trouble or something. Oh no, the girl started feeling her chest. What is Miss doing? It seems her bandage has become much looser. Something is wrong. My friend still has trouble breathing. Maybe Royce should go get a doctor. Everything is fine. The girl should thank Marcus Killian for his care and help. It can be difficult with Jimena, she tells Royce about it. When night fell, the Duchess gathered her strength and went to look for the main character. If not for him, she could have died. The villainess confidently knocked on the door. Who came there? It was the new recruit Gucci. Can he come in to see my lord? Why did the newcomer decide to visit the Marquise's private room at such a late hour? Surely the conversation wouldn't wait until the morning. But the young man came to express his gratitude to Mr. Thermos for saving him, because the Marquis essentially saved his life. There's no point in talking about it at this hour. It's already very late. Let Gucci just think that Killian accepted his gratitude. Steam leaked from under the main character's door. This fantastic guy must have just come out of the bathroom. Jimena didn't think about it at all. In that case, the girl would like to ask one only question to Mr. Thermos: how exactly Gucci was examined by the doctor. The villainess came up with such a brilliant disguise that if the healer found out her secret, she had to make sure that Killian himself didn't find out. Jimena has been doing so well all this time. The Marquise doesn't even suspect that his stalker in a wig is behind his door. That's what she's talking about. The doctor hasn't examined Gucci. When they returned to the castle, the breathing had already returned to normal, so the doctor simply checked the pulse. Phew, what a relief. That means the girl's secret is not in danger. She can continue to be a wonderful recruit in Killian's squad. The girl is so glad to hear this, yes. The Marquis understands this perfectly well. If it weren't for Killian, she would have revealed herself on the very first day. She's not a very good spy. By the way, the Duchess remembered something. The young man jumped up on the spot. Oh no, not that. I wish he would fall through the ground right now. What else happened? Killian swallowed nervously. Nothing special. Gucci was just a little offended today for some reason. At that moment, Mr. Thermos handed over the sword, but did not even look in the direction of the new recruit. The cheeks of both heroes immediately flushed. The recruit still believed that he and the milord should keep their distance. However, the girl definitely does not want there to be awkwardness and coldness between them. And yet, for some reason, she felt very warm in her soul when she learned that Mr. Killian rushed to save her. Jimena's heart began to beat faster. She needs to stop thinking about him. Her tongue has completely stopped taking her into account. Killian is destined for Inez, and Jimena is here trying to get her way with him. The doctor examined the patient and said that his pulse was now normal and that all he needed was a good night's sleep, that's how. Well, the doctor can conduct a more thorough examination, but there is no need for that. In this case, the doctor will prepare a mixture that the patient will need to take after waking up. The Marquis will wait here. It's not every day you see the greatest warrior in the Empire getting medicine for some new recruit. My lord must value him very much. This woman is destroying his reputation. It's not that Milord Killian really values this guy, it's more that he constantly gets into unpleasant and stupid situations. Therefore, the commander of the Red Moon already has to worry in advance about the well-being of this wayward knight. The old man laughed good-naturedly and patted the Marquis on the shoulder. Well, isn't that a sign that the boy is dear to Mr. Thermos? By the way, since we are talking about the symptoms of the disease, my lord would like to clarify what some of them mean. A person can experience a huge number of different symptoms, each of which indicates a particular problem. What exactly is being discussed? Well, it's very difficult to describe in words. When a person starts thinking about someone, his heart starts beating faster. The doctor immediately froze. Moreover, the heartbeat speeds up and then slows down. The person begins to worry for no apparent reason, or rather to become anxious. And all this causes great discomfort to the person. Even the gaze automatically reaches out to this second person. A warm smile lit up the old man's face, and the doctor might ask who exactly these symptoms belonged to, who the patient was. The main character immediately blushed. We were talking about his friend, of course, not about Marquis Killian, but the doctor thought so. The young Marquis has absolutely nothing to worry about. This is absolutely natural for a person. Something like this happens to every person. What a relief! And what should be done about it? How to cure it? Maybe some medication or therapy is needed. Not at all. It's called falling in love. What? That's right. The doctor is so curious about who the man is who has so turned the great warrior's head, since the Marquis said that he was not talking about himself at all. The doctor seemed not to listen to the young man, but the milord had already managed to confess his feelings to this man. One cannot deny one's feelings and emotions. They are a part of him. And the more the main character denies the feelings that are already obvious to him, the more difficult it will be for him to restrain them. The handsome hero sighed heavily. Could it really be true? Could it really be that Killian had really fallen in love with her? Salty tears flowed down the villainess's cheeks. Her eyes stung, and her soul was torn to shreds. Why couldn't Marquis Thermos accept Jimena's feelings? Why is the heiress of the duchy so disgusting to her lover when she has absolutely everything that my lord needs? Immodest wealth, a noble family that no one would dare challenge. Many young men are even ready for a dynastic marriage for such an opportunity. And the handsome Marquis has no choice but to accept Jimena. Is it really so unbearable for him? That's right. The very thought of it is disgusting to him. But at some point something changed. Their hearts never coincided. She was looking for the love she was missing, and he lived for blood feud. Their union can only bring pain and suffering to each of them, followed by even greater misfortunes. None of them would get what they wanted. That's what the main character always thought, but one day that girl suddenly changed and became a completely different person. This girl suddenly became attentive and compassionate to others, began to achieve her goals through her own efforts, became able to listen and understand. Even though there was an indecently large amount of clumsiness and recklessness in her, something about her made Killian's heart beat faster. Now Marquis Thermos knows what love is, but he does not know what is going on in Jimena's soul and head. After all, just recently the heiress of the duchy declared that for her, my lord was not at all some special person, and why she in particular. And today, on the contrary, she said that she wanted to be noticed by him. Among all the girls in this world, his heart chose her. That's it. Most likely, when the young Duchess said that Killian was no one to her, she was speaking about her true feelings. Meanwhile, in the mansion of the Duchy of Sylvester in Carafadon, the butler, his lordship has already returned from a trip out of town, maybe some tea. Where is the Duke's daughter? Where is that girl? The butler asked the castle staff. All the servants said that the heiress went to Anatole to see her father. What, the daughter never visited her father at the country estate? What kind of absurdity is this? Now is such an important moment for their duchy. Where could this reckless girl go? Duke Sylvester returned to the family estate to strengthen his influence, but his daughter was gone. Could it be that this girl ran away? Under cover of night, I packed my favorite dresses into suitcases and went wherever my eyes led me. Nowadays, it has become fashionable among young people to ignore the will of their parents and leave home because of a rebellious spirit. But it's not logical. Why would a young lady run away from the estate because of hatred for her father? If the parent is not there anyway, it's logical. Besides, before leaving, Jimena got her due and spent her time as she pleased. All the tabloids wrote about it. But in that case, where did this girl go? The only heiress of a great house could not remain unnoticed. The butler had only one guess on this matter. Any ideas would do now. The heiress could not forget Marquis Thermos. Perhaps the young Duchess went to the lands of Acticos to see Milord Killian. After the Empress's birthday celebration, Marquis Thermos sent her a basket of flowers and a letter, worried about Milady's health. Seriously, my Lord Thermos even hired personal guards so that they wouldn't let his daughter near him. And what did Jimena answer? She had to use this opportunity for Daddy. Well, and because of her own obsession, Miss never wanted to see my lord again. What? Look, how dare she! The Duke's face immediately distorted into a grimace of rage. That's how it was. In that case, let the butler immediately send a letter to Marquis Thermos in the name of Jimena. Meanwhile, the heiress of the duchy wandered serenely around Killian's castle. Finally, she officially became a knight, and why were her ears itching so much? And now the girl can freely admire the main character, that is, monitor his safety, of course. The girl's attention was immediately drawn to the Marquis's maid, who was walking with a tray towards his study. The maid brings Lord Thermos his favorite mushroom tea with chaga, that's right, that's wonderful. The villainess was never able to properly thank the protagonist for saving her. The new recruit Gucci will take the tea to Mr. Killian himself. The maid has nothing to worry about. The young man was just on his way to talk to Marcus Thermos. How wonderful, the maid would be very grateful to the new recruit. There are 2 cups of mushroom tea on the tray, which means that the protagonist is now in his office with his deputy, Sir Weil. Surely these two are discussing something very important right now, Weil believed if this was true. All this looks extremely suspicious and strange. The deputy checked everything several times. This letter said exactly that. Is this really such unexpected news? It's a bit noisy in the main character's office. The deputy personally thinks that this is a completely natural course of events, isn't it? The goals that the Emperor is pursuing are completely unclear apparently. Something serious has happened. Can Jimena enter at such a moment? Why did the old man suddenly decide to marry his beloved son to the Duke's daughter? Jimena herself is generally aware of what is happening. What these two just said made the girl freeze in a daze, barely holding the tray with dishes in her hands. All the details need to be clarified, but according to a letter from the ducal house, Prince Diego has proposed marriage to Lady Sylvester. But the most interesting thing is that, according to this letter, the heiress of the duchy accepted Prince Diego's proposal. This cannot be what is happening. A deafening sound of broken dishes could be heard from behind the doors of the study. What happened there? Apparently there was someone behind the doors. Mr. Weil opened the doors to check who was there. The entire floor was covered with freshly brewed tea for Marquis Thermos, and woody notes wafted from the corridor. Tea set fragments were scattered everywhere. Jimena was sitting in a puddle of tea, asking for forgiveness. Wait a minute, the recruit was standing at the door this whole time and eavesdropping on their conversation with the milord or something. You can end up in prison for that. The deputy commander approached the heroine closely, who sent the newcomer to spy on the work office. Here the girl realized what was happening and how it looked from the outside. No. Gucci had no intention of eavesdropping. The young man simply brought Marquis Killian's favorite tea, but did not bring it to the office. The villainess was struggling to sort through the broken pieces of dishes. With her fingers, she was going to clean everything up. Now her consciousness was confused. Her body was not obeying. What the hell? What's going on? Jimena didn't even know about the prince's proposal. She didn't notice how she cut herself on a shard. Ouch. Why is the recruit so clumsy? What number is this broken tea set? He will handle a sword the same way on the battlefield. Then the main character jumped up to the girl and grabbed her hand. A red stream was oozing from her finger. The girl's cheeks immediately turned red. What was wrong with her? Why was she next to him? Jimena suddenly began to feel hot. Her heart began to beat faster. "What's the matter?" The recruit cut his finger. "Well, it's nothing. Jimena doesn't deserve the care of such a beautiful young man. The newbie is bleeding. We need to stop it, treat the wound, and wrap the finger before Gucci gets something else in there. Let Weil be so kind as to bring a first aid kit here. It will be done. And why bother so much over a simple scratch?" The deputy commander left the office, and the main character immediately reached for his handkerchief. The rookie is really sorry that he screwed up again. It's just dishes. Too close. Jimena feels his velvety skin, his burning breath, Killian's pulse rate. It's true that you can't take your eyes off the newcomer for a second. The villainess began to finger the main character's silk scarf, and even his scent remained on it. He needed to collect his thoughts. The newcomer cleared his throat. He was asking for forgiveness. Gucci really didn't want to eavesdrop on Lord Thermos and Mr. Weil. The main character sighed heavily. Well, what can you do with a newbie? Gucci had already heard everything behind the door anyway. So the boy can look at the letter from the Duchy of Sylvester with his own eyes. This seal really belongs to her house. This letter is addressed personally to Marquis Killian. What is going on here anyway? Who dared? It is quite obvious that this letter is fake, but why was it needed and by whom? And this letter was sent by the only heir of the Duchy of Sylvester. The girl immediately turned pale, but she did not do this. That's what the young man thought. This letter was written and sent to him by Duke Sylvester, of course, and not by Jimena. After all, the main character knows that all this time the young Duchess was posing as a new recruit in his castle. It is very interesting that while the only daughter is here alone, surrounded by hundreds of the best warriors, the father accepted her proposal of marriage without even telling her about it. Not to mention that this old man didn't even ask his only child's opinion. Jimena slowly put the letter aside. Her face was blank. The newcomer felt fine. The main character immediately cleared his throat so as not to show his concern. That is, the boy's hand was fine. It didn't hurt anymore. Here, the girl rose belligerently from her seat and clenched her fists. She needed to destroy one rotten old man. That is, Gucci needed to take a day off. For good reason, of course. The recruit needs to go home for a couple of days and visit a sick relative. The poor guy is completely losing his mind. Milord Thermos has nothing to worry about. After his little family trip, the newcomer will return to Acticos Castle. Yes, that old greedy parasite. He will be looking for Jimena's fifth corner when his daughter gets to him. Grandfather completely lost his fear. He had a poor understanding of who was now in charge in this duchy. Well, his daughter can shoot. What a scoundrel. To exchange his only daughter for his own benefit. Well, never mind. They'll work it out. And who is this Prince Diego III anyway? Why is he suddenly pestering the heiress? Does he not have his own business? The girl does not remember this heir at all in the novel, which means he is a secondary and insignificant character. You need to think again and remember the original storyline. Maybe this is the one. The current heir to the throne was accused of some kind of assassination attempt, and the person in question was the current crown prince named Felix. The emperor then decided to eliminate his first son and put forward a new contender for the throne. Then there was a riot, a bloody uprising, but something else was important. The new heir was probably this Prince Diego. But for what reason did the insignificant character in the novel decide to propose to the villain? Wait a minute, something is clearly wrong here. Did the girl really start some kind of mechanism with her transformation? And now the original plot of the novella completely changes, but not this. What should she do then? If this continues, Jimena will simply lose control over her future and the future of this dimension. We need to think about how Prince Diego and her heroine are connected at all. They don't have a single point of contact. It is quite obvious that the future crown prince wants to strengthen his position in the political arena through a dynastic marriage. With the help of the duchy of one of the founders of the empire, the heir will obtain the finances and army of the Sylvesters. Most likely, Prince Diego wants to use the resources of Jimena's father to overthrow his older brother from the throne. The eldest son of Emperor Xenos was never particularly intelligent or cunning, which always oppressed his father. And the only heir to the duchy has just severed all ties with Marcus Thermos and has no groom candidates in reserve, an ideal option. And if this plan works, the storyline of this novel will change radically, and the Gucci brother is here. Let the friend come in quickly. Royce looked around first and went into Jimena's room. The loyal friend slammed the door behind him and immediately began questioning the heiress. She took a couple of days off. Royce heard it from my Lord Killian. It is indeed so, but the Marquis said that Gucci's parents were ill. There's an emergency, and one greedy old man needs some serious prevention. As it turned out just today, Prince Diego made an offer. What? But does the emperor's second son like Manhwa meant that the heir proposed to her, and not to the new recruit Gucci? Jimena is, after all, a noble lady from a noble house with an immodest dowry and a power-hungry father. So what, this guy is ready to tolerate Jimena just for her daddy's wealth? Is he a masochist or something? Hey, she hears everything anyway. But seriously, if the engagement of the heiress of the House of Sylvester with Prince Diego is decided, she will have to leave the knightly order. And this is not the villainess's biggest problem now. Once she becomes part of the imperial family, she will have to forget about Killian. After all, the imperial couple is hostile to the main character, just like Killian himself. And this will mean only one thing very soon. A war for power and influence will break out, and the empire will tremble. This is a bad business. There is too much at stake. And what is Jimena going to do, strangle the old man? What? The heiress will do what she does best. She will tear everything to pieces. These power-hungry scumbags have come for their death out of turn. They will not live. Jimena will destroy them quickly and without regret. By the way, how does her friend plan to spend these days? Wouldn't he like to carry a couple of bags into the forest under cover of night? The noble and caring Marquis Thermos himself ordered Rolex to take a vacation, because Gucci is his brother. So Royce goes to punish all the undesirables together with his girlfriend. Royce is the best. Okay, it's time for them to return. They'll turn everything upside down in the duchy and probably get themselves a prison term. Meanwhile, the protagonist tried to concentrate on training the knights of his order. And my lord is sure that it was a good idea, as Weil is now saying. Of course, about the unscheduled and sudden vacation of two new recruits, Rolex and Gucci. This whole story about sick parents sounded like an excuse. There was no truth to it. And as Mr. Whale can be sure, their parents have always been there for them since they were born. And only when they are gone do people begin to understand what a huge void they leave behind. The faithful comrade in arms immediately bit his tongue. He asks for forgiveness. He knows what pain this conversation brings to the soul of my lord. Whale believes that the commander knows better than anyone how much this pain consumes, hurts, changes, and torments. Everything is so. Even though this wound was received a long time ago, the pain still pulsates with unbearable agony. The deputy approached the Marquise with concern. Everything was fine. Weil had nothing to worry about. Killian had been living with this pain for a long time. However, the words of his comrade reminded the protagonist of his true and main goal. It is time for the greatest warrior of the Empire to pull himself together and fulfill the duty for which he has come all this way. Everything else only distracted the Marquis from the main thing. A lot would be decided now, and Killian had to be ready. Meanwhile, in the Duchy of Sylvester, the butler did not receive a response from the Marquis of Thermos. There was not a single letter. It's strange. The head of the duchy was sure that he would provoke a reaction from my Lord Killian, and this girl is nowhere to be seen. The butler is confident that Mr. Sylvester has nothing to worry about. Miss Jimena will surely return soon. The servants announced that the heiress of the duchy had finally returned to her native estate. Who allowed the old man to control Jimena's life? The Duke immediately hissed. He is the head of the family here, and this is the will of the head of the family. The head of the family can change right at this moment if the current one is not filled with wisdom or the desire to live. Just recently, this pseudo-parent forced his daughter to blackmail the Marquise to force him to marry her, and now he is throwing it at the prince. Isn't Daddy not enough with the power and wealth that their family has? Even the imperial couple can't compete with that. She was so ungrateful, but her father was doing this for her sake. The daughter was disgusting to the Marquis, and she scared off the other suitors with her wild, thoughtless antics. And now she has been given such an honor. An offer from the imperial family. She should be happy, but they should all be upset. Jimena wants to die unmarried or something. She's only 23. This old man is already 5 minutes away. Don't you dare! The Duke is in the prime of life. Today's youth understands nothing. He has completely dissolutely spoiled his daughter. All she knows how to do is snap back at her father. Oh, fate! Why are you so cruel to your parent? Jimena separated from her mother early. Her father pitied and cherished her. Stop pressing on Jimena's pity. The Duke burst into loud cries. Well, he was a parent as best he could. It was really hard. Jimena was no gift. But the father is no holiday either, and if the Duke forcibly gives his only daughter in marriage, will he be able to sleep peacefully at night? Well, maybe the daughter will later say thank you to the best dad in the world. The Duke himself believes in it. Maybe an alliance with Prince Diego will be the best decision in her life. The old man is again asking for conflict or something. By the way, for the record, Prince Diego is smart, handsome, and virtuous. The whole capital talks about him, all the beauties dream of getting him. Oh well, why would such an ideal and wonderful prince propose to the loser of the year, from whom all the suitors run away? Well, most likely, the emperor's second son wants to get ahead of the first in the struggle for succession to the throne. And an alliance with the family of the empire's founder will strengthen Prince Diego's position and undermine Crown Prince Felix. So, if the only heir to the Duchy of Sylvester refuses the offer, what will happen from this prince? They are doomed. The daughter wishes death on her father or something. This will put her daddy in a very difficult position. The Duke has already given his consent. If everything is cancelled, Prince Diego will be hurt and the Emperor furious. Of course, the Sylvester family has more weight than even the imperial couple, but they will begin to put pressure on the duchy. The only safe and diplomatic option in this situation would be for Prince Diego himself to refuse. A victorious smile appeared on the villainess's face. What's wrong with her, that is, all that is needed is the prince's refusal. An icy sweat ran down the face of the head of the duchy. Let him not even think about approaching the prince. What was she planning? Slip him a laxative, smash the prince's brand new carriage. Scatter dirty socks around the castle. What is this girl up to? Let her come back immediately, nonsense. The question, they are all doomed. Royce and Marie immediately recoiled from the door. They weren't eavesdropping. Let them prepare the crew, they had business. The heiress of a great family needs to talk to this suitor immediately. A scream from the father was heard from the room. They will all die. Meanwhile, in the main character's domain, the Marquise's deputy helped the doctor unpack the boxes. The man carelessly pulled out one of the boxes and almost brought the rest of the pile down on himself. However, Sir Weil managed to come to the rescue in time and intercepted a couple of boxes. Phew. So the deputy put a couple of boxes on the floor and helped the doctor hold the mountain of boxes. It would be better if Mr. Weil took most of the boxes on himself and carried them to the right place. But Sir Vale is the captain's deputy, yes, and Mr. Warren must turn to the knightly company in such cases. But all the knights are very busy now, the deputy himself knows, so the healer can handle it himself. And Mr. Weil has just the time to help. The healer supports their order so much they must take care of him. So the most valuable member of the Red Moon Order shouldn't risk it over such trifles. And what brought the deputy commander to the old man, Sir Whale? Something is bothering him. He needs a potion. Lately, Milord Killian has been sleeping very poorly and looks exhausted. Weil came for a potion to restore his strength. While Weil can't figure out the reason, it seems like he, as the deputy, needs to try harder. So the young Marquise has lost sleep and peace. The doctor, of course, can make a potion. This medicine will help Milord Thermus sleep, but it will not be enough to solve their master's problem. That is, Mr. Varon knows what the cause is, the doctor guesses, and this problem cannot be solved with medication. But what are they dealing with then? It's some kind of curse, and hasn't the commander's right hand noticed yet? And what should Mr. Weil have noticed? How is it that everything is so obvious? Their Marquis is in love. Deputy Weil froze in shock and stared at the healer. The young man seemed to have broken down or something. It is not impossible that Marquis Thermus could have fallen in love with anyone, for during every social event Sir Weil personally accompanied him. And if the great warrior of the Empire took a liking to someone, his deputy would be the first to notice it. This was their commander's personal business, so Sir Warren didn't ask him any questions. But the object of Marquis Killian's adoration may not be a girl. Well, the doctor is bringing ammonia again. In the deputy's mind, the image of a noisy recruit was attached to his commander, so the rumors were true. Meanwhile, the villain of the novel was already halfway to the imperial palace. And here it is, the majestic palace of the imperial couple, where so many significant events in the novel took place. The heiress will nip the new plot branch in the bud. She has her own plans for this novella. The unexpected guests were immediately met by the palace maid. She was glad to welcome Milady Sylvester. Where is the prince? His Highness Prince Diego agreed to an audience with Miss Jimena as if he had a choice. Let the guests follow the maid. Let the show begin. The girl turned to her loyal retinue and winked. Royce and Marie knew what to do. Their mistress has absolutely nothing to worry about. Marie should relax a little. It's like she came to kill. Forward, loyal friends. The heiress is not counting on them. Who are cool, they are cool. Meanwhile, Prince Diego was enjoying his privacy in the restroom. The butler reported the arrival of the heiress of the Duchy of Sylvester to the imperial palace. Let Milady Jimena enter the room. To be honest, Prince Diego did not expect a personal visit from his future wife. Well, in that case, it would be appropriate to introduce ourselves and get to know each other better. This hero is handsome and cunning. He feels like a direct threat, just the perfect villain. So this is what a minor character in a novel looks like when he tries to get into the leading roles. A stupid and naive heir. In front of him is a former cop with a bad character in the body of a crazy villainess. No chance. The heiress of the House of Sylvester is happy to welcome Prince Diego. The young Duchess doesn't have to observe formalities. They will be engaged very soon, right? Let the pleasant guest sit down wherever she pleases. What generosity, really. Prince Diego is grateful that his bride arrived early, as they had never spent any time together before the proposal. The heiress of the House of Sylvester must have been very surprised by the offer from the imperial family. Yes, her face turned to stone precisely from surprise. And so the Duchess became curious about what exactly it was about her that such a distinguished groom liked. That's why she came. It doesn't violate propriety. Prince Diego burst into a loud laugh. So that's how it was. This lady wasn't as noisy and annoying as the rumors said. And the appearance of the only heir to the duchy is quite pleasant. Although the young people did not spend time early, there was a place in Prince Diego's heart for Miss Jimena. He obviously didn't think long. Although, as the Duchess herself knew, her feelings had long been directed towards another, so the heir could only silently watch from afar. Well, how much can we talk about this stalker's obsession? Although 100 chapters are dedicated to it, so we'll have to be patient. And finally, fate took pity on the heart of Prince Diego and gave him a chance for happiness. This guy is like from the black list of all the ladies on the dating site. Is it true that hearing this was so exciting, the girl's heart actually started beating faster? A poisonous smile appeared on the face of the future bride. Prince Diego immediately swallowed. Well, since Milady Jimena was already here. And the young people are both adults now, each of whom already has their own desires and preferences. They can have a great time here. Since the Emperor's heir is not particularly busy with anything, they will spend this day together like real newlyweds. What? The villainess pointed her finger at the stunned prince. They should get to know each other better before tying the knot, until death do them part. First of all, this guy needs to understand that his future bride is very partial to men and is not shy about her displays. The face of the imperial offspring turned purple, and they definitely need to get so deep into each other's souls, boy. How did you get into this? The villainess clenched the jaw of her future husband. Her hubby has such sweet cheeks, she is ready to squeeze them all day. How about a frank conversation? Or not at all. Maybe they should throw away all these empty words and give free rein to their feelings. And what did Milady Jimena do before that? They should go further with the prince. They will have a wonderful time with their future husband, in privacy and in a special way. Prince Diego suggests that they take their time. It's too late. This train of love can't be stopped. This heir will definitely break off the engagement with the villainess. It's not for nothing that she went on so many blind dates. So the operation to break off the engagement with the prince begins. A woman's roar was heard throughout the corridor. The maids of the imperial palace immediately ran to Marie. What happened? The girl works as a servant for the duke's daughter. Why is the poor thing crying here? Because Milady Sylvester's personal assistant feels very sorry for Prince Diego. That's why. But everyone in the empire knows about the nobility, wisdom, and beneficence of the second son of Emperor Xenos. And such a beautiful young man became engaged to her terrible mistress, and Miss Jimena is the worst of the worst. Well, let's say that some unpleasant rumors about Madame Ximena reached the palace servants, but that's no reason. No, even the devils stay away from Milady. How could a noble lady's personal assistant say such a thing? The only nobility she has is her father's last name, which cannot cover up all the shame of her daughter. Marie is not gossiping at all, but warning her colleagues that they are doomed. But if such rumors suddenly reach members of the imperial family, the engagement of Prince Diego and the heiress of the duchy will be in jeopardy. This is the best deal for the service staff. Once the mistress shaved the head of one of the maids because she did not call her the most beautiful in the morning. It is said that the duke's only daughter, Sylvester, beheaded her former bodyguard because he paid her 5 compliments instead of 6. Is this true? Of course. Royce is already her 5th bodyguard. He was unlucky with the draw, and now he is so scared. In the imperial palace, there were rumors only about the promiscuity and obsession of the heiress to the duchy, but there was not a word about her cruelty. And that's not all. Recently, the lady has become interested in fencing and founded some suspicious order with a nasty name. And this order was created only to kill on the spot those who defeat her, satisfying their unhealthy, perverted tastes. A girlish squeal was heard in the imperial garden. What should they do? They need to write a statement of their own free will. It would be better to tell His Majesty everything and not let this maniac near the imperial palace. The villainess's minions had done an excellent job with their tasks, and all that was left was for Himena to do. And isn't the future wife in too much of a hurry? They are already behind schedule. On the contrary, doesn't his lordship want to know what grown-ups do? The poor heir's cheeks and ears began to throb treacherously. His face burned with shame and embarrassment, but this would be much easier than expected. As far as the future bride knows, her groom is 3 years younger than her. This means that Milady Himena, as the more experienced one, should take the prince under her wing. But what kind of talk is this? Let the future husband just obey Milady Sylvester in everything and be a good boy. And then the future spouse will experience sensations that he had never even dreamed of before. And by the way, let Prince Diego not even try to hold back his cries. What did she say? What the future wife is doing, they weren't talking about that at all, just like that wasn't about that. Himena said she would introduce her inexperienced fiancé to adult nightlife. But this is something completely different. The girl was talking about screams, the knife flew past, then the prince's squeal was heard, well, and she didn't lie about Himena's screams. The villainess's dagger was stuck into the prince's chair right next to his cheek, so what is it like for him to be an adult? Diego is so handsome, he shouldn't twitch, otherwise his beautiful face might get damaged. The maid walked down the corridor and heard the soul-irritating cry of her master and a joyful woman's. The maid immediately opened the doors and ran into the restroom. His Majesty is fine. The stunned imperial offspring was stretched out on a chair, and his future wife was warming up next to him. Well, they had a great time with their future husband. Himena will be waiting for some next meeting. And next time the villainess wants to hear words about breaking off the engagement, otherwise the zones of his risk in the game will change. What happened to His Highness? The maid will call the doctor right now. It was funny. I even felt sorry for this boy. So the Himena team raises these glasses of champagne to the successful completion of the operation. You should have seen the prince's pale face with no signs of life tomorrow. Terrifying rumors would spread throughout the palace. But throwing a knife at the emperor's son still means a decent term in the palace prison. Diego won't dare tell anyone about it. So now the heiress of the duchy will definitely never marry anyone. Here Marie exchanged glances with Royce, and Milady was sure that this was exactly what she wanted. What are friends talking about? Well, did the young duchess really never want to get married?